Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Arun Mehta Show.
Never was. To catch them is my real test. Train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Best friend in the world, we must be fair. Our hearts so true. Our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia and I'm here with a few special guests. For our new guests, we have a content creator who discusses about various anime and other properties from Power Rangers and such. We have Des Shinta. Welcome, Des Shinta.
Hi everybody.
And we have our returning guests. You may know him from various podcasts such as most recently, the Naruto podcast. We have back Eli, aka the Cartoon Hero.
Yeah, Pokemon, yeah! And I'm back.
And last but certainly not least, we have a guest who needs no introduction as he has been in a lot of our podcasts. We have Jim Bevan. Welcome back, Jim.
Always glad to be here, Patty.
All right, we're talking about Pokemon again. Yay! We're going to be discussing this time around the Pokemon movies, since we did briefly discuss about it when we did our 20th anniversary podcast, but in honor of the most recent movie that came out, Pokemon I Choose You, I decided to gather up these guys, and we're going to be discussing about our earliest memories of the Pokemon movies, and you know, our opinions on the movies, and as mentioned before, there are like 20 of them, not counting the specials, but yeah, it's a lot, and there's going to be another one coming out next year. So, Des Shinta, as our first new guest, why don't you discuss about your earliest memory of Pokemon, since you weren't on the Pokemon podcast?
Right, 1998, I think it was November-ish. I caught the show on accident before school one morning, right after my mom and I had moved into a short-term place, and pretty much I saw the little creatures, saw that they were also advertising a game, and because I've been meaning to ask my mom for a Game Boy for Christmas for a couple of years, thought it was good timing and good game to catch it in with, and pretty much I kept track of the anime only because I was playing the games at the time, but pretty much when my interest ran out of Gold and Silver, I stopped following the anime. The Hoenn region games really got me back hard into the games, but I never really kept up much with the anime past that, even though I did start watching a few of the advanced generation episodes to at least get an idea of where they were, but honestly, with the pacing of the games, I never really kept track much of the series past that.
Alright, and what was the first Pokemon movie you ever saw?
Definitely Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Okay. Jim, what about your earliest memories of Pokemon?
Well, I got into it when it first premiered back on Kids WB back in, was it 96 or 97?
I think that UPN aired that around the time, and I think that Kids WB got the rights to it maybe around 98, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you could be right.
The game started in 97, I think the show started in 98.
Yeah, and in America, not to be confused with Japan, which the 97 in the anime would have been correct.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Right, thanks for clarifying. It just kind of gets blurred, but I saw a preview trailer for it. I thought it looked interesting. I like the art style. I like the variety in the creature designs, and I thought it had cool concepts. So it was one of those shows that my brother Kyle and I would watch every morning before school, and we'd enjoy it. And eventually I did kind of get out of it. I mean, I played the first games, Red and Blue, the original, but didn't really see much reason to go beyond that. But then my youngest brother, Eric, got into it, so I would occasionally get some games for him and watch a few episodes with him.
And was the first movie your first movie?
The first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Yeah. And Eli, I know that you were on the Pokemon podcast, but to reiterate for those who hadn't checked it out, why don't you talk about your earliest memories of Pokemon?
Well, at the time, basically, I had a friend who was really huge into it when the series first started. Like, he had the games back as far as Red and Blue. I actually didn't, because I couldn't play the games yet. But eventually, when I caught the anime on Kids WB, because I actually didn't have Kids WB at my house. My grandmother did, though. So I got to see it when I was at her house. And when I started watching the anime, because my friends were into it, and eventually when Gold and Silver came out, Gold was my first game. When I got my Game Boy Advance, that thing with the original model with the screen you couldn't see.
Yes.
And there was, yeah. And like I said, after Gold, I was pretty much hooked. I've been following the series ever since then, and I'm still playing it to this day. But as for the anime, though, while I definitely stopped watching the anime after about the third series or so, I still do keep up with it, because I eventually sort of keep up with it, because I eventually went on to review every single Pokemon movie out there so far for my series. And while people were quick to point out a lot of the things that I missed because I didn't watch the anime, which is fair enough, but I've sort of kept up with the franchise through the games and through occasionally watching this, and still through occasionally catching glimpses of the series. And yes, my first movie was Mewtwo Strikes Back, and unfortunately, I actually dragged my parents to see that with me, and I'm really glad that they indulged me in that, because that movie, looking back now, it was pretty cheesy.
Yep.
Yeah, the American version, definitely. As for the Japanese version, I guess we'll get into the debate on that soon. And to reiterate, I can talk. To reiterate one more time on how I first got introduced to the franchise. 98, I was about 12, and I was in the 7th grade. A lot of my friends from middle school were really getting into Pokemon. They had the games on Game Boy, and they would be playing it around breakfast time and during lunch. I started seeing more of the show, and then we went to see Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, as a field trip, if you can believe it. And we went over there, we saw the movie, and we got like a truckload of the cards to distribute to all the students. So I had like multiple copies of each of the cards, which was actually pretty funny, considering that you're only supposed to get one card every time you go into a movie theater. And, as time went on, I played through Gold, I saw the other movies. The last movie that I saw was, I believe, Pokemon Heroes, and the last of the anime that I saw was, when Battle Frontier was just starting, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I was already heading over to college, and I saw other anime that appealed to me, so I was pretty much finished. And I didn't get back into the Pokemon franchise until just a few years ago, when the announcement of X and Y came along, and then I saw what the new trailer with the Mega Evolutions look like, and I was really excited, and then I got back into it again. I didn't see the anime, and I haven't seen any of the movies until just preparing myself for this podcast. So I'm actually really curious to find out what happened after, skipping out towards the first half of Generation 3. So It was kind of a very interesting transition about how the movies look like since the first one, and then leading all the way up into the most recent one, Pokemon I Choose You. So, alright, let's get started. So yes, the very first movie is called Mewtwo's Counterattack, or Mewtwo Strikes Back. And, yeah, it came out in 1998, just about a year after the anime was really popular in Japan. And, yeah, it basically focuses on the 150th Pokemon Mewtwo. If you've seen throughout parts of the anime, more specifically when you see Giovanni and his men going around Viridian City, and they're at the gym and they're looking at this new Pokemon, and you're thinking, what is that thing? It kind of leads up into that. And, of course, you know, there was a lot of things that we were not given compared to the Japanese. There was like a radio drama that came out around the time that discussed more about Mewtwo's backstory and a whole bunch of things. And yeah, it's a long, complicated story. I'm sure if somebody knows about it, then, you know, please just say it, because personally, for me, I mean, I don't know it outside of a few people who are Pokemon reviewers who discuss about it. I personally haven't seen the Japanese version, although I'm interested to check it out. Anyway, so yeah, Des Shinta, please tell me your thoughts about the first movie.
Pokemon shouldn't fight. Not like this.
Oh,
Not like this.
Yeah, why don't you... Why must Reploid...
Brother, my brother, tell me, what are we fighting for?
Great, and then now I'm getting Mega Man X7 vibes. Why must Reploids fight?
Oh, don't remind me.
Oh, God.
What am I fighting for?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, oh my God. Okay. Yeah, get that out of the way, jeez. Continue, please. Oh my God.
My thoughts on this is that it's really cheesy in the 4Kids edit of the thing. Like, you get a bit more of the dramatic tone of what it was intended as, because Mewtwo's origins are really screwed up. I mean, if you look at a lot of different Pokemon, they have the same thing, but it's like genetically engineered, tortured, enslaved, and now the guy's out for revenge. You see a lot less of this in the 4Kids edit, where it's more like just making him a big generic bad guy who doesn't understand the meaning of life. But in the Japanese version, you're pretty much... Of course he doesn't understand the meaning of life. He's just been a constantly abused giant mutant kitty.
Yeah, he's kind of like Doomsday. He's just bred and tortured to make him harder and, you know, to make him more brutal.
Yeah. According to the radio drama, if I recall, basically Mewtwo was... Mewtwo was created from the DNA of Mew, and alongside with a mutated Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle was a little girl named Ai, who was the daughter of the professor that he was trying to help raise back, sort of like Mr. Freeze, in a sense, of trying to, you know, resurrect his dead wife from her disease almost. And along the way, his experiments just didn't work, and none of the other clones survived past like 2 or 3 years, and Mewtwo's the only one who survived. And Ai's last words were to remember them and to, you know, hold on to hope or something. And then Mewtwo kind of like drifted off to sleep and pretty much forgot the whole thing. It's kind of like drifted into his mind until he eventually wakes up, where the actual opening begins. But yeah, besides that, from what I remember, there was like a lot of things in the first movie that, oh God, the 4Kids dub is, I don't know what they were thinking about when they added in all those things, like the music cues and the way that they talked, even though it's kind of ironic that they were saying about Pokemon shouldn't fight, but the whole point of the franchise is to battle your Pokemon so you can rise up to the top. It's, what?
And how about when Mewtwo reveals his plan to wipe out, you know, the mainland and just have his clones survive, and Misty's only response is, "You're just a bully."
It's the problem of anything 4Kids touched, as I've been discussing in my Yu-Gi-Oh reviews. They destroy nuance because it's supposed to be for kids, and kids don't get nuance.
I know, which is odd because the movie does start with Mewtwo pretty much destroying the lab he was created in and pretty much killing everyone who was there. I mean, they do not say that the scientists were found alive but seriously injured.
I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
Yeah. The movie starts with mass murder. I mean, we can handle a little darkness, people.
Yeah, exactly. And considering that now, today, with the release of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions, 4Kids is able to bring out some really dark stuff nowadays.
Yeah, they cut a lot from that movie, too.
Damn it. Oh. I'll have to watch the Japanese version of that one, don't I? Oh, great.
Prana is actually a bit more explained there, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because I remember we did Jim and I, alongside with his friend Lily, we did the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimension podcast a few months ago, almost a year ago at this point. And yeah, the power of the Prana wasn't explained very well.
Yeah, Prana is a Hinduism thing that's essentially the background magic of the universe. It's explaining the connections to all the following series, which have their own type of magic sorcery things that are all eventually revealed to be the universe having been created by a god dragon card.
Oh god, that makes so much more sense now. Holy crap.
I know!
It wasn't a flying spaghetti monster, it was a giant trading card.
Yeah, well, continuing on with Pokemon. So, yeah, when looking at the Japanese version of the information that I was able to find, you do understand why Mewtwo is angry and why he wants to get revenge on humanity because of the way he was treated. He was told that he was going to be able to understand, but the professor and Giovanni just want to use them for profit. And Mewtwo being incredibly confused, he doesn't really care about what they want. He wants to know about his purpose. And so he goes away and he does this huge plan where it involves with gathering a whole bunch of people for a quote-unquote competition just so that he can gather their Pokemon and clone them so that he can be able to destroy the entire world, and then him and his clones can be able to come by. And that kind of confuses me. If Mewtwo wanted to do that, wouldn't he have called a lot more trainers? Because he only got like a handful of Pokemon. He didn't get every single one of them.
It's basically part of how he was, quote-unquote, raised, as all they cared about strength. So his challenge is to even get there is a type of natural selection. So only those who get there and who are able to challenge him, he would think are worthy. As part of the issue of the first film is he doesn't understand empathy because none of the people he's been around up to that point understand that at all. And that's why the Pokemon crying for the dead Ash thing is kind of the switch moment, because he doesn't understand how other people could care for someone that they don't really know that well. And Pikachu crying over him is like the switch for that.
Yeah, and from what I remember in the Japanese version, they never mentioned a line about that the creatures cried when the big flood came by and destroyed most of the Pokemon and their tears revived them. I think that was added in the English version to kind of help audiences not be as confused. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was added into the Japanese version.
I mean, you can get the basic gist of what Mewtwo's motivations are in the English version, but like I said, what they cut out does remove a lot of the depth that he had. And Mewtwo, let's be honest, he was the best part of that movie, but just magical Pikachu tears.
Magical Pikachu tears.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the first time that's been used in an anime series for a shortcut to reviving someone. Hell, American series have ended up importing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Power Rangers in Space used that at least twice.
Yeah. Well, in Space and Lost Galaxy, that was the two that did it.
And this was the start of a long line of Pokemon movie fake-out deaths.
Ash dies a lot in the movies.
Yeah, he does, actually. More times than you can count.
I swear he has a bag of Sacred Ash on him somewhere.
Probably.
He is Sacred Ash.
Well, he was blessed by Ho-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and we'll discuss about that later.
Yeah. Yeah, I just imagine he dies, he ends up in limbo or some other celestial waiting place, and some angel comes to him and say, "No, we're still not waiting for you. Get out," and kicks him back.
No wonder he never ages. Whenever he dies, he regenerates into the same body.
Yeah, I guess that explains on why he goes into a journey over and over and over again from scratch.
At least 5th gen and 6th gen related anime kind of progressed that from what I kept track of. And then, of course, Gen 6's ending happened.
Oh.
Basically, they pushed the reset button on progress at the championship.
Of course they did.
I don't get why they didn't have him win the championship at that time either, because the next series doesn't have a Pokemon League for him to compete through, so let him win, have the big climactic Zygarde stuff happen, and then where he realizes that winning the tournament isn't the end of his journey, and then you're free to do something completely different, starting with the Alola stuff.
Well, from what I hear, the Alola series is kind of a soft reboot in and of itself.
They soft reboot him every time they go to a different region.
Well, yeah, but I mean for, like, the whole series.
It kind of explains the different style of animation.
Yeah, but they had a different style of animation going into X1 as well, so which just more proves the point of let him win the tournament before you go off to do something completely different.
Yeah, I guess if they are going to do a soft reboot, it would have been nice if maybe from the original series onward to X and Y, he could have won a tournament.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how many people were like, why didn't you get mad at that plot twist? And I'm like, well, yeah, it does suck, but I'm just not as invested in the series anymore.
True, but I feel like I was more irritated on principle because he's been at it for nearly 20 years.
It's true.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
give him one. Just one.
Yeah, he did, but Des Shinta, he did have one. Remember the Orange Islands?
Orange Islands aren't an official league. That was the entire point of them. Same with the Battle Frontier.
I know. It was just a joke.
That's the joke.
Yeah, but if I didn't say it, someone in the comments would have.
I know. All right, so yeah, bottom line with the first movie, yeah, I think that if you really want to know the backstory of Mewtwo, if you saw him throughout the later parts of the anime, and just I guess the one thing that I can say about the first movie is that it was in a bigger scale than the anime ever presented, and they were trying to take somewhat of a risk to definitely enhance the story a little bit more, but considering that we have 20 movies now, I think that there are better movies elsewhere.
Plus, the big advantage to that is it was teased in show, and you usually don't see that kind of tied-in continuity a lot for anime series. It's like, Pokemon has a pretty loose canon and what actually occurs, because trying to follow that timeline is ridiculous, but it's not often you see them kind of really seed it like they did.
Yeah, that is true. It's very rare that they would have a continuation from the anime and have it in movie form. Usually, most of these movies are standalone stories that have no canon to the series. Alright, I guess we can discuss about our thoughts on Pokemon the Movie 2000, or Mirage Pokemon Lugia's Explosive Birth. I remember when this movie came out, I never saw it in theaters, but as a gift, I was actually given the CD soundtrack. And I used to listen to it a lot.
It did have Weird Al, so that's a reason to get any soundtrack.
That is true.
But not as we'd ever heard him before.
No. But yeah, I remember a lot of people, I remember when I eventually did see the movie on TV, and a lot of people were discussing about it, saying that it was just like this grand epic story with Lugia, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and Ash is the chosen one who's going to be saving the world from this gigantic blizzard, and
it's just three dumbass birds fighting over territory with the big brother having to smack all three of them down.
Yeah.
It's also probably one of the most hypocritical of the Pokemon movies, because, it gives a message. Collecting Pokemon is horrible unless you're doing it the right way, the way everyone says it should be done. Which is, of course, a 4Kids-based edit, which, of course, they're idiots. Of course. I had a feeling that would be This is the people who are being going to be enslaved into people who are going to be turned into toys, and being turned into a plaything is worse than being a slave. Yeah, but I mean, there are just so many dumb moments in this movie. There's the bit where the group of Clefairy are trying to kill them all. There's a scene where Pikachu and Zapdos communicate with each other by zapping each other. You could have done that in a more clever way. Have them shoot off different bursts of intensity and have it say, they're speaking through Morse code. That would have been a little clever. There's the bit with the talking slow king, and then there's the fact that the villain of the movie, I forget his name because I don't think it was ever mentioned. Lawrence the Third. Did he really have any motivation other than, I just want to have these legendaries and I don't care if the world goes to shit because of it?
Well, to quote our late great friend, in Japan, you got a card saying that his mom died.
Oh, right.
That's it.
That's it. There's only one good thing that you can take away from this movie. It's that Team Rocket got a big damn hero moment, and that's the only redeeming factor.
Agreed.
That it confirmed that they're in a relationship.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
And throughout this entire movie, with the blizzard happening, and I'm just questioning. Misty and Tracy are wearing shorts. How come they're not suffering from frostbite? Because they would be at least covered from head to toe with that.
Some
You can
people.
ask that question of any time they're traveling through any Arctic-themed area in the series.
Yeah, that
Some
is
people-
true. I mean, they do travel through the Orange Islands, which is warm tropical climates, which kind of makes it out of place for the second movie, in which it's all covered in snow.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people just have a natural tolerance for the cold. Believe me, I live in Pennsylvania. We've had days the last week that are down into the 20s, and I have seen people out in short sleeves and shorts.
This is tanning weather for me, yeah. It's just that Misty has been shown to not like the cold, and yet she only wears short shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we can argue that Tracy, him traveling all over the world, being a Pokemon watcher, maybe he's used to it? I don't know. Oh, but yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is the only movie out of the 20 that Tracy's in.
Thank God.
We don't like to acknowledge Tracy. He's not Brock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know why they decided to create Tracy and replace Brock with him, because they thought that Brock was a racist stereotype and that we would be offended by Brock, but no, trying to make it safe by having, we have a European-looking character. You won't hate us, right? Oh, God.
He's not even based on European. That skin tone is Northern Islands, Japan.
Yeah. I don't know, but seriously, that change was just really not necessary. And the fact that Tracy becomes so cocky, and you have that scene in which the girl comes in and she's talking to Misty about her being concerned about Ash, and then Misty says, I'll just let you know he's a boy and he's a friend, but he's not my boyfriend. And then Tracy rushes in and says, hey, are you guys talking about me? It's like, get out of here! Who invited you in here?
This is why people don't like to acknowledge him.
Speaking of Pokemon, we brought that up a second ago. Did you know that that's one of the few Weird Al songs that's not available in his complete collection due to rights issues?
Yeah.
Really?
Which doesn't surprise anyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's not his best song, but I still enjoy it.
Sure, I suppose. I'm sure that's a lot of cases for a lot of the celebrities who sang the songs at the time in which maybe it's not in their complete collection because of distribution rights. We can never get the full complete collection of M2M.
Who?
Exactly. Yeah, I just remember that this movie I remember that when this movie came out, a lot of people really liked it, and I just never really could get into it. I mean, I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it was, amazing like everybody else made it out to be. I guess it was a little bit more action-packed, and a lot more was at stake than the first movie, I suppose, and Team Rocket does get an amazing scene, but I just never really cared too much about it.
That's really the problem with Pokemon the Movie 2000 in a nutshell. It devotes most of its effort into spectacle as opposed to actual characters, which the first movie, for all its flaws, did do a decent job of giving Mewtwo quite a bit of character development. But the second movie, it was really just one journey from one giant action set piece to another giant action set piece. It's a Pokemon version of a Michael Bay movie.
Well said.
Yeah, well
Now,
said.
if you want character stuff, you gotta wait until the next film.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess we can talk about that now. So, let's talk about the third Pokemon movie, Emperor of the Crystal Tower Entei, or Spell of the Unknown. And, a lot of people say that this is the best one, and I can remember for many years that, from my opinion, this was Oh, man.
It is the best because it has Dan Green.
Dan Green as Entei.
Except no substitute. Except for the Japanese voice actor.
Also known as Pokemon Go Silent Hill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this really interesting video by the Cartoon Gamer discussing about the story of the 3 Pokemon movies and the behind the scenes of how they came to be. Apparently the 3rd Pokemon movie was supposed to be about that Professor Oak found the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he found out that there was more to a connection between the Pokemon world and our world, and Team Rocket wanted to steal it. But then it was scrapped for obvious reasons. And then
why did the dinosaurs die out? Because you catch Pokemon at night.
Can you imagine if they had gone with that? Can you imagine how many film theory and game theory videos Matt Pat could have spun from it?
Oh God! and by
the
the way, this was like years before the 5th generation or 6th generation Pokemon. The one that looks like the dinosaur. What's it called?
Tyrantrum.
Tyrantrum. Yeah. It's years before that Pokemon. So, my God, that movie would have been a mess. So yeah, I think that the original writer of those movies, what was it? Takeshi Shudo. That's right. So Takeshi Shudo had to basically start off from scratch, and he was really sick at the time, and he wanted to write a movie that was he wanted to write a movie that was based off of a father and daughter, because there wasn't a lot of those at the time. And he wanted to have a personal connection with the 2 characters, with this case being the father and Molly, and kind of like a representation of him with his daughter. And it's actually a really interesting story. If you haven't seen that video about the 3 stories behind the 3 Pokemon movies by Takeshi Shudo, then please check it out. I think that there is a lot more at stake. It definitely feels a lot more realistic in the terms of it has a lot of trauma and turmoil with essentially a character that's not Ash Ketchum. It's actually focusing on a little girl whose mother is sick in the hospital. Her father completely disappeared. She's on her own, and with the power of the unknown, they grant the wish of Entei to come to life, saying that was her father, and she pretty much is living into her imagination while the unknown pretty much take advantage of that, and it becomes actually a really interesting story.
It's a really harsh look at what happens when people who are grieving choose to basically reject the real world and hide in delusions and fantasy because they think it's shutting out the problems, but it's just making things worse.
Yeah, it's a really important, I don't want to say moral or lesson, but it's a very good character arc for someone learning to conceptualize loss and death, which everybody has to go through. And it's presenting in a pretty even manner how it explores all of those arcs and how ignoring those problems won't just really help you at all. And I kind of lost my track of my thoughts there as Jim's Mike.
Sorry.
You were talking about the turmoil that a person was going through, that every single person goes through it at some point.
Yeah, and I had something leading off from that, but I lost track of it.
That's okay.
And also because my inner child just loved this part, Ash's Charizard got to come back and have its most badass moment ever.
That was it. That was the thing. Especially with how this kind of tied into how the Johto legendary dogs were born, because there were 3 Pokemon killed in a fire that Ho-Oh revived.
Yes.
So the themes of death are especially tied into them, and how this is like trying to revitalize the spirit of the little girl living in a world where death doesn't matter, and yet epitomizing her father in the form of a legendary Pokemon that only came to be after its original death. So it's like, it's truly the revival of her father in that form through that means of expression.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. And I also like the fact that Not just Molly is basically like the main character of this story, but we also get to see a lot more development and showcase of Ash's mom, who has always been like a minor character or shows up occasionally, but we actually get to see a lot more of her throughout the series, and her confronting Molly, talking about how she was alone and that she sees Ash's mom as her mom, is actually pretty sad.
Yeah, because with the bit where Entei captures her and basically takes her in and tells her, "You are Mama," that's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I do admit that and then of course, you know, when Molly decides to challenge them to a Pokemon battle with both Misty and Brock, and then eventually Entei and Ash have a fight with one another with Charizard and Pikachu, is, oh man, it was so amazing, because, you know, usually with these kind of Pokemon battles, you don't see the battles drag out that often. You either have other people battle, or it doesn't really last very long, but with the second movie, we didn't really get that much. The first movie, it was there, but it was pretty much overpowered with Mewtwo. But in this movie, I thought that the battles were actually a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Because they spent a lot of the animation budget on them.
I guess that's true.
They really went into a lot of detail with those scenes. And the thing is, it's actually a pretty good showcase of what's going on with the characters. Because the stronger Molly's Pokemon become, the more she's sort of retreating into her own imagination, when she's not really facing the problem of what's going on in the real world. And that's, of course, making the unknowns hold on her stronger. And, well, that's obviously not a good thing in this situation.
No, it's not.
That is in my opinion, it's kind of the only issue I have with the movie is I don't really care for the unknown. I mean, I understand the gimmick they were going for, but if you try to make them
to collect them,
yeah, and trying to make them like scary or intimidating does not work. I mean, they're letters. You don't make letters scary.
Yeah, that's like they're the Pokemon equivalent. Yeah, I'm sure that if, you know, Pokemon and reality were to come together, I'm sure that Unknown would be the equivalent of alphabet cereal.
Oh,
magic alphabet cereal, where they could do magic things by spelling out the right ones. Okay, but I don't think hidden power works that well with them. You kind of need to IV train your Pokemon for that.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, it's hard enough to figure out what type of hidden power you've got.
Yeah, that's the only attack that Unknown has, is hidden power. They don't have psychic powers at all. Anyway, so I guess I want to talk about the ending, where the end credits showcase that Molly's mother came out of the hospital and Molly was happy. Apparently, Shuda was really disappointed on that scene, because when he was really sick, he got one of his co-writers to help finish off the story. And when he saw that, he was really upset, thinking that, you know, if Molly's mother was really in the hospital, I mean, wouldn't she have been told that she was at, as opposed to her thinking that she completely disappeared? So, yeah, he was actually pretty upset with that it was never explained that, you know, where the mother was, and I can understand that, especially since it wasn't, like, told. I mean, I don't think even the Japanese version mentioned that either, so I can completely understand why he was slightly upset about that. And from what I recall, this was the last movie that he wrote for Pokemon.
And I can see why he'd be a little upset about that. I mean, I understand wanting to make it more acceptable for children, but it's not good to have your vision compromised by someone else.
Alright, so I guess we can discuss about the fourth movie, which is called Celebi, the Meeting That Traversed Time, or Celebi, the Voice of the Forest, or Pokemon Forever. And I guess I cannot talk about this movie without bringing up the GS Ball.
The GS Ball, oh god, I was going to bring this up too. This movie was originally supposed to be a story arc in the main series, but they decided to turn it into a movie and thus shelved the GS Ball plot entirely.
Yeah, so the GS Ball, by the way, if you don't know what GS stands for, it stands for Gold and Silver. Ooh, mystery solved. Anyway, so Yeah, apparently the GS ball contained Celebi, and it was supposed to continue on from the anime, and the movie would have led up to Celebi being awakened. But they decided to scrap that, which I have no idea why they did that, because they showed off Mewtwo from the anime, and they followed it up with the movie. Why didn't they do it here?
Well, it wasn't going to be
money.
That's the thing. It wasn't going to be a movie. It was going to be a story arc. It was going to be something they led up into the main series, not a movie. Then they decided to make Celebi's event a whole movie. So technically this is expanded continuity because the Sam Oak thing was supposed to be part of that originally, and they pulled it in. And it's just like, it doesn't really work in the form they present it all as.
No, they could have definitely made it interconnect with the anime and the movie.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the GS Ball subplots in the anime, the guy who finally put that thing to rest, and in all its irritation-inducing glory, is a guy named Shoji Yonemura. I've talked about him on my show several times and how he has written some of the worst movies I have ever seen of the stuff I talk about, and it's just like, it shows. It really does show, as the guy is a pretty regular Pokemon anime episode writer, and it's like, he's done episodes up through the current Alola region series, and it's like, he really is not good at this as a writer. I mean, with the loose canon Pokemon has, it's not like he ignores all continuity like he does in his other works, but god damn it, you can't help but find that everything the guy touches turns to suck.
Oh, great. So we have the Fushida of Pokemon. Oh, God. Now, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast about that, and discussing about how Yoshida was the one responsible for the likes of a lot of the filler episodes in the original, and then eventually we discussed about him in...
Wait, Shin Yoshida, the main writer of everything from GX onwards?
Yeah, that's him. That's the one that Media Hunter discussed about.
Well, admittedly, the guy is pretty much in the point of burnouts at this rate. I mean, it's hard to blame him for 5D's Arc 3 because that got screwed over by external factors, but I can see why that guy can be kind of polarizing.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, continuing on. So, yeah, Pokemon Forever. I think... I mean, I thought that this movie was fine when I first saw it. I never saw it in theaters. In fact, I didn't really see a lot of these. I mean, this was like one of the last times in which we actually did get to see a Pokemon movie in the theater. But yeah, this is another one that I did see on TV, and I thought it was fine. I thought that the interesting subplot about Sam and Ash together was kind of cool, and Celebi was an interesting creature. I didn't really like this one compared to the third movie. I felt that, sure, that it was a very interesting take on, let's introduce this new legendary character, and, he was the spirit of the forest and what have you. And I thought it was fine. It does have a lot of interesting, it has a lot of interesting storylines and plot points, but I don't know, just something about it I didn't really connect to as much as the third one.
Saying it had some good concepts, like especially the whole thing with Sam and Celebi's ability to time travel and power over nature, but it just never felt like it gelled that well.
Plus, Celebi kind of has a different role in the series where it's more the maintainer of time. This was, of course, before Dialga came around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're conflicting with how he is kind of presented throughout the rest of the media.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, in the ending credits dialogue with Oak, the directors of the English version kind of wanted to clarify that Sammy was Oak, even though that was pretty damn clear in the Japanese version if they were paying attention. But the other thing they did is when they requested new footage, they cut out Tracy entirely.
Hooray!
That's pretty much the logic of why they did that.
That, and as many people have said, Celebi could have solved everything from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a time traveler. You have to know these things.
Yeah.
I also think back to something that Will, that dude in the suede, said when he did his review about how they were trying to go for a green Aesop, about respecting the environment. And it would have had more impact if Celebi had actually, fully died instead of appearing to die and then being revived, because that would have given the emphasis that, sometimes the damage you do to nature can't be undone.
Plus, Deus Ex Machina Suicune.
Right.
I mean, in the end, he didn't really do anything. He just cleaned a lake.
Yeah.
Woo.
Ooh.
Yeah, woohoo. What is this, Princess Mononoke?
You're angling for EPA Employee of the Month there.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, it's. I mean, like I said, I was just the information that you just said, Des Shinta, I've never heard about this before. So, yeah, if they definitely would have stuck to their guns and actually made a connection with the anime and the manga like they were supposed to, I think that maybe it could have been slightly better. But as of what it is, it's fine. It has some good moments, but it just has some moments that I don't really remember.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the bad guy's big plan was to take over the world with a giant mech made of branches.
Yes. Truly a machine of unstoppable destructive force. How can you stop it unless you have a match?
Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Chainsaw, match, strong winds.
A slight breeze.
Slight breeze.
Now, all we can see is Veronica Taylor saying groovy.
Yes.
All right, next. We got the fifth movie. Otherwise, we have Guardian Gods of the Capital Water, Latios and Latios, or Pokemon Heroes, Latios and Latios. And this one actually takes a slight of a different direction. Mostly focuses on, like, a city location, where you have Latios and Latios as, like, the main legendaries that they're promoting, even though that technically they're kind of not legendaries. They're just...
Well, they're technically legendaries in Hoenn, and this is kind of the move... Well, admittedly, we got into a bit with Lugia, but this is more them teasing the next generation games with the set of the legendaries from the next movie, and the next grouping of games, and this is a trend they'd follow through with all the following era... This is a trend they would follow with all of the following movies when they would get to the end of a generation, where they would tease what's coming next.
Ah, that makes sense. This was, like, at this point in time, like, I think that this was, like, maybe the last movie that I saw right before I was, like, pretty much finished with Pokemon. And it was actually a really interesting one just to kind of, like, from my opinion, kind of, like, finish things off. Different location, actually a different change of pace. I do like Latios and Latias together, and the villains are great. It's actually a nice break from Team Rocket, and it does become...
Even though they said they were Team Rocket in the dub.
Yeah, they're not.
They even went with the same Western naming theme. They went with them. Annie and Oakley was a thing with them, kind of like Butch and Cassidy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so...
a little touch there.
Yeah, so...
But-
yeah, go ahead.
But honestly, there were a few minor changes. Some people did wonder why I didn't point this out in my review, but in some scenes, for some reason, I guess to enhance the mood, they added this weird blue tint to the animation. And I don't know why they did it, but it does. But in addition to that and the whole Team Rocket thing, this is one of the movies that I unashamedly still love. It was actually, I think, the first... Okay, no, it wasn't the first, because I did review Destiny Deoxys for a collab way back on the forums. But I think this was one of the first Pokemon movies that I tackled for my series, because it was one of the last ones that I watched before I started doing this, and I still love it. I think they handled it pretty well.
I think they handled it pretty well too, but there's part of me that just can't help feel like some of it comes off as like fanficky, and I think that all comes down to Latias, basically crushing on Ash.
Ash kissed Latias, and he liked it.
This is definitely a missed opportunity for the film, because Ash has Bayleaf at this point. Bayleaf is also massively crushing on Ash. This is canon.
Yes, and this was like years before. I think I don't remember. I think like the fifth generation, where if you go over to the Canale Library, it discusses about in the Japanese version about how at one point people in Pokemon were married and ate at the same table.
Wow.
Yeah, and it would. Yeah, I admittedly didn't keep track of the 4th and 5th gen animes, but it wouldn't be until the XY series where we saw some type of anyone else with an infatuation for Ash.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fans hated her for it.
I have yet to see it, and I have no interest in commenting on it. So
my only word is, at least they did something with it.
That is true.
Exactly.
It just took a long time for it to happen, though.
No, I'm referring to specifically the XY series. They actually went and did something with it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Other things. 4 kids cut from this movie about 2 minutes of Latios and Latias's backstory, which kind of makes everything they do and everything around them a bit less clear, as if they're the guardians of the place, whereas in the explanation it's more like Latios and Latias pairs regularly visit this place, and it's not like they constantly live here.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is kind of confusing, because it makes it look like they're the guardians of this city, and that they want to keep it as safe as possible. But, yeah, if that's the case, then, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Once again, 4 kids doing their usual butchering.
Yeah, especially in Gen 3, as they can be found anywhere, as they're pretty much flying-type world travelers, even though they're dragon psychic.
I mean, the games and the anime are really 2 different animals when it comes to how the Pokemon work. But hey, Jim, you got your wish. In this movie, a Pokemon fucking dies and stays dead.
I know. We will always remember your sacrifice, Latios.
Yes. Let us take a moment of silence for this death. Okay, we're done.
The arms of an angel.
Also, fun fact, in the Japanese version, Latias's voice is provided by the same actress as Jessie.
Makes a lot of sense, because don't a lot of these voice actors kind of voice multiple characters in the show anyway?
Yeah, I guess that, but it's just like, it's an odd concept of make Latias assume Jessie's form and have her. It's amusing to me.
Oh, does it sound similar?
They really do.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
And then you have the stuff with Latias crushing on Ash, and it's like, these are very weird mental pictures you are giving me.
Yeah, and
Very weird.
It makes it even more confusing because Team Rocket, well, our Team Rocket, isn't actually in this movie.
They're not in most of the movies, though. They're there, but they have they're snarky commenters instead of actively involved.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
why
I mean, but they're not actually involved in the story in this case.
That is true, considering that a lot of these movies, and this surprised me, that they would focus on a lot of the other teams that would be featured in the video games, which I didn't expect, which I guess that makes a lot of sense. Maybe if I would have played the other games, I can kind of piece these together, so yeah, I was kind of surprised on that. Anyway, so Jirachi Wishmaker. Now, again, I've never seen any of these other movies before, because I pretty much stopped after the beginning of Gen 3. So this was kind of my first introduction to any of these, with the exception of one. And that's because, well, I'll get to that later. But my God, this movie's so boring.
Not as bad as Pokemon Ranger, but yeah, nothing really happens.
No.
Yeah. I was about to say you're not missing much.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I watched the show, maybe I would understand, but I don't think I learned anything from this. I mean, you have this cool Pokemon who can grant wishes, like a genie, and then it attaches itself to the younger brother of the female character, and they connect with each other, and I don't know, just something about it. I just...
Also, evil Princess Mononoke style Groudon.
Yeah. This movie is disappointing for me personally, as Jirachi is my favorite of what I call the legendary chibis, just the small pocket-sized, even in a Pocket Monsters series, legendary that comes out in each generation. Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Manaphy and Shaman, Victini, that kind of class range for usually the Psychic plus X type of the series of that gen.
Yeah, it does look really cute. It looks like if Starfy was a Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like I got Pokemon Coliseum and got the little download code for him, and that's kind of why I was always fond for Jirachi. So for his movie to be pretty much a waste of time is kind of disappointing. And that's pretty much the waste of the Advanced Generation series, because May was actually an interesting character from what I saw, in that she had an actual story arc of finding what to do as a trainer and like coming into her own that way. But Max pretty much was just there so they could make May more of a ditzy character, and it wasn't exactly to either of their credit.
And they even pointed that out, because isn't there a scene where May tells Jirachi to get rid of the problem, and he responds by teleporting her away?
Yeah, those jokes also didn't help much.
The dialogue was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that scene where Butler actually says, reverse the polarity. I mean, look, for kids...
You're not Doctor Who or Star Trek.
No one's going to get that reference.
Using multimodal reflection sorting.
And then when Max tells Jirachi, you'll be in my heart. I mean, come on. The dialogue in this movie is just...
You'll be. This reminds me of E.T. I'm getting E.T. thoughts in this. I will be right here. It's like, you did an E.T. reference, Pokemon. Shame on you.
Yeah.
And now I'm never going to be able to look at this movie without flinching, as I am fucking terrified of E.T.
Yeah.
Okay, well...
Be glad you never went on the Universal ride. If when he says your name, that would have freaked you out.
I will say one thing, though. That scene that you brought up had an interesting... It actually brought up an interesting possibility for me, because it was kind of implying that people built Jirachi up as this granter of wishes, but when you see Max make his first wish, he just teleports what he needs from somewhere else. And the way I was thinking is that he kind of isn't really... The way I thought they were going is he kind of isn't really this all-powerful genie character. He just uses psychic powers to sort of move what people need from somewhere else. But at the end of the movie, they completely retcon that and say, no, he really is this all-powerful genie character. He was just kind of lazy the first time.
The irony of that is that they would do this with the Hoopa movie, and Hoopa is actually based on a genie, and it would work a lot better there when they made that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, and you know, again, I haven't seen that movie until just recently, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. An actual Pokemon that's like a genie. So yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh god. So yeah, the next movie we have is Visitor from the Sky-Splitting Deoxys, or Destiny Deoxys, and there's actually a really interesting once again, someone taking place in a city, and this actually is really interesting, about a kid who's afraid of Pokemon. This was very interesting to me. It's like a kid who's afraid of Pokemon in a world that's surrounded by it, and then you have Deoxys coming in, which is like this really creepy looking alien Pokemon. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty fascinating. Definitely a lot more interesting than Jirachi.
Well, I mean, considering that some of these Pokemon can manipulate time, wishes, and the very fabric of reality, I'm honestly kind of surprised that you don't see more people who are afraid of them. I'm surprised that you don't see cults dedicated to worshiping them and offering sacrifices in their honor just so they'll be spared the wrath.
This is the Advanced Generation era, so we actually do have people worshiping Kyogre and Groudon, so...
Yeah.
That happens.
Right. My bad.
Yeah, Team
Forgot
Aqua
about
and
that.
Team Magma want to be able to change the landscape of the world. So I guess this is kind of like
that always goes well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is like an extreme version of a cult leader and, you know, their goals of trying to change things.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
This movie, for me, outside of the subplot with, I'm forgetting the kid's name. He's
Tori.
crazy.
I think, or Tori. No.
Tori.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tori.
Yeah, Tori, that's it. This movie is otherwise boring to me, as it feels like nothing really happens. Yeah. It's like the city goes haywire because Deoxys and Rayquaza are fighting, but Rayquaza and Deoxys are fighting because why? Rayquaza protects the world from incoming meteorites, and Deoxys are apparently found from coming meteorites, but beyond that, I feel they got more mileage out of this in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire with the episode Delta storyline.
Yeah, it's a Three's Company plot. The conflict comes from a misunderstanding.
Which happens a lot in the later movies. It's just that this one is not very well explained.
Yeah, the funny thing is the real meat of this movie, because Deoxys communicates through electromagnetism, and they're in a city which is very dependent on technology. It mostly deals with the humans trying to survive while the two Pokemon are fighting it out above their heads.
Yeah.
Well, if the malfunctions in the city are being caused by the electromagnetic waves, then they've got really bad technology, as someone just bursting EM radiation isn't going to screw up tech that severely.
Well, and considering that this is a world that relies on Pokemon, I guess their technology wouldn't be up to snuff.
This is a reality where they have they have self-powering floating castles. So it's like, you really don't have basic EM shielding that current technology does, despite having holographic technology and robots in the setting and Pokemon that are born from mechanical creatures. It's like, you really don't know how technology works, do you?
We can't have all floating castles be like Castle in the Sky.
I mean, from what I can tell, most of those castles are powered by at least magical technology. So, and to be fair, the city can't be that advanced if it's staffed by robots that look like rejects from Cubix Robots for Everyone.
Oh God, I remember that show.
So do I.
I've never seen it.
There's a Rodney Dangerfield robot. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh! And I thought Rover Dangerfield was bad.
Yeah,
it is.
Anyway, but what was I gonna say? I thought that the concept was really interesting. I guess I didn't really think of the fact. I mean, again, maybe if I actually play through the games and know about what the lore of it is, maybe I would find it. Maybe I would find it a little bit more engaging, but I thought it was actually a pretty interesting concept. I mean, I think I do know about Rayquaza, about how it's sort of like the guardian of space and how it's supposed to control Groudon and Kyogre if it gets out of line or something.
Yeah, pretty much, because of its special ability that negates their weather manipulation.
Yeah, that almost makes me wish that they both would have been in this movie. It would have kind of made a lot of sense, but I guess Deoxys was the main Pokemon to feature at the time. But even then, I thought that Deoxys is actually a really fascinating creature, basically similar to Clefairy, a Pokemon that's from space.
Yeah, and that unlocks a lot of potential that I don't think the Pokemon games have used properly yet. We've had suggestions, and in a few instances, we've actually seen a Pokemon that comes from a different planet, and I'm really surprised that they haven't gone the route of actually going to a different planet, even in one of the spin-off games, to investigate it. And yes, the Alola generation has gone to a different dimension, but different planets, for some reason, have still been off the table. It's a bit weird to me.
It's not like the Alola game stuff is that new with it. We first had that with the Distortion World stuff concerning Giratina and Gen 4.
That's true.
But seriously, next 8th generation, I want to go to the moon.
Pokemon Mass Effect.
Yes, I want that in my life. All right, now we can go over to the actual, the 8th movie, which is the movie that I did actually see from this Advanced Generation series. Mew and Aura Hero Lucario, or Lucario and the Mystery of Mew.
Lucario freaking rocks.
I love Lucario in this movie. He's one of my favorite Pokemon.
He is. The bond between him and Sir Aaron is just exceptional.
Yeah, it's like you really feel the hurt he has from like being abandoned in his perspective from Aaron, but it kind of makes him out to be a douche that the friend and partner he had for so long, he immediately thinks the worst of, when it's pretty obvious from the beginning that he was trying to save him.
Yeah.
I'm sure that maybe it was explained slightly better in the Japanese version, but yeah, this kind of almost gives me a Gargoyle sense, in which you have Lucario from all the way in ancient times, and he comes back like thousands of years later, and he sees what the new world is, and he's trying to help alongside it. And also Mew is just thrown in as well.
Okay, I gotta do the joke. After hundreds of years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Yes.
Congratulations.
With my weird ninja Jedi powers.
Congratulations. I hope you guys are proud of yourselves. But yeah, I there's just something about it that I found really fascinating about how, I mean, I'm sure that the whole plot convenience about Ash having the same aura as Sir Aaron and what have you, but and you know, there are some things about the movie that are kind of a little bit off, but man, just the stuff in it that's good, it's amazingly good. I love the setting. Yeah. I love Lucario in this movie. I love that tragic backstory. I love the connection that he has with Ash, and it's just so good. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I feel they lost out on a chance on a bit of lore expansion there with the whole Ash seeming similar to Sir Aaron. As what if the reason why Ash keeps being chosen by all of these special powers and that near cataclysmic events is he's supposed to be this kind of like aura specialized master, but in the modern world never got trained for it. So while he's drawn into these things, he doesn't really have the true ability and power he's supposed to have an affinity for.
That's sort of explored in the anime from what I hear. There are a couple of episodes where, especially involving the character Riley, who from the Sinnoh games, who actually is purposely made to look a lot like Sir Aaron, and he too can use aura. So there were actually brief attempts to sort of bring Ash into this world of being an aura master, but it never quite panned out from what I heard.
Kind of a shame. That would have been a good premise. That would have been a good path to explore.
Plus, it would have explained how Ash can lift ridiculously heavy Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. I think I did see something on Twitter about that he was lifting this like really tiny Pokemon that looks kind of like a rock, and then it says it weighs 2,900 pounds or something. And then there was, there's other Pokemon that he was able to lift over his head that looks like a hippo that was also really heavy. The pre-evolved form of Tyranitar, which weighs a lot or something. So yeah, Ash not only cannot age, but he has the strength to carry the equivalent of a ton.
Yeah.
We also know he's basically invulnerable because given how many times he's taken Psychic Blast, Fire, Electricity, he should be dead by now.
Yeah, he dies just as much as Goku.
Who also voiced Lucario, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right, Sean Schimmel, right.
Yeah. There is one aspect of the movie, though, that just completely makes me go, what the fuck? And that's when Max offers Lucario chocolate. Lucario is based on a jackal. Jackals are a species of canines. Canines cannot eat chocolate.
It would kill him.
Yes.
But then I was like, wait, steel types are immune to poison. Rim shot.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, it kind of reminds me of with Harry Potter and Prisoner of Azkaban. It's like, eat this chocolate, you'll feel better.
Well, I think that's kind of a basic thing because chocolate is often used as a comfort food.
Yeah, but for Pokemon, what's Pokemon's equivalent of comfort food? I mean, I know Pikachu has ketchup, but
there is chocolate in canon that Pokemon can apparently eat.
But was that Pokemon the one that Max offered to Lucario?
No, it was like a Valentine's candy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I do also like the fact that they sort of dress up in different costumes in this movie. It's actually a really interesting change of pace that they look differently.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we get to see May in a bikini.
Yeah, exactly. How old is she? I get Japan. Keep it up. Just keep up with...
You wouldn't really be able to tell if she's... The way they designed her characters to be a bit more curvy than Misty, but it's like you really can't tell as much that they're supposed to be 10.
Oh, God.
That was just...
I swear, what is with you, anime? Why are you keeping up with sexualizing underage girls? I don't get it. All right.
Apparently, the word of God is that she was just an early developer, but...
No. That
doesn't make it better.
That doesn't make it better.
But no, other than that...
This is Roy Moore's favorite Pokemon movie.
Oh! Topical.
God. Okay, next. Well, before we...
There is one other thing I want to discuss.
Sure.
That tree that they go to, I still have no idea what the hell it's supposed to be.
The crystal tree of life thing?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Probably in the
Good,
Japanese
so I'm not
version
alone.
they explain it.
It's probably some Japanese culture thing that I still have no context for, but it's like, you would think they would explain where the hell that's coming from better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and in the end, I was just like, fuck it, it's Yggdrasil.
Okay, let's go over to the next one. So we have the Pokemon Ranger and the Prince of the Sea Manphy, or Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. So, yeah, I don't know anything about the Pokemon Ranger video games. I think I did see one in a commercial once in which it involved with, like, oh, you're a ranger and you get to borrow Pokemon by spinning it on your DS stylus to capture them or something. That's
The only reason to get the game is to get Manaphy, and pretty much this ended up being cross-promotional tie into that and the coming Gen 4 games.
Yeah. And this one actually focuses a little bit about May's character, which, okay, we had Jirachi with Max, and we have Manaphy with May. And I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. This will probably be the last time in which these characters would be together, because they would focus on the Diamond and Pearl series. And maybe because I haven't played the games, I don't really understand too much about the Pokemon Rangers, but I think that the whole thing about May with Manaphy was kind of wasted, because it all led up to Ash in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ash totally steals the ending from May.
Yeah, that's a dick move on his part.
Yeah.
This movie is so boring, though. It's like, it's headed to hell.
There's a stretch there's like half an hour where nothing happens.
Your villain is a cyborg pirate. How are you this boring?
Yeah, that was actually really interesting. It kind of reminds me of in Ratchet and Clank about how they had the pirates and they were actually more interesting than Emperor Tachyon. And I'm like, yes, an evil pirate. I don't watch One Piece, so let me have an evil pirates to watch. I don't remember anything. Oh, go ahead.
Or even for a Disney movie, Treasure Planet.
I haven't seen that movie in ages. So I think I did see it in theaters, and I don't remember anything about it, but yeah, you're right. But yeah, I want to see an evil pirate, and I don't remember anything about him. And maybe if I did play the Rangers games, maybe I wouldn't understand what's going on, but I was more confused than anything, and I just was a little disappointed that May never got her time to shine.
It is a shame. Also, she gets shoved aside. Also, Ash can go Super Saiyan.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that there are a lot of problems with this movie's presentation. Like, this is where they were really trying to go from 2D animation to CGI, and you can really tell with some of the models, especially for the underwater Pokemon. They make the models for Pokemon Stadium look good.
Oh, man. I guess you're right. I guess this was sort of like the starting point in which Pokemon, both the anime and the movies, would use a lot of CGI. Yeah, it doesn't really exactly look good.
And in addition to that, there's also in the English version anyway, they were switching dubbing companies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, now I actually have a story about this. Now, this was like around, 2006 or 2007? Because I would have been in college, and I actually heard about this story, and this was like one of the specials that I remember seeing on TV, because, it's the 10th anniversary celebration. I'm like, ooh, this ought to be really fun. And then when they switch over to the new English dub, when 4Kids was no longer the ones who did the rights to the dub, and then they switched it over to the Pokemon Corporation, I was like, oh, this is disappointing.
Yeah, the dub was really rocky with these actors for a couple years, and which is disappointing is, I don't like 4Kids, that's pretty clear, but I actually really enjoy most of their voice actors, and the voice directing department for 4Kids was one of the few meritable things about the company overall.
Yeah, here's the thing, my opinion about 4Kids. Now, as somebody who has interviewed a lot of voice actors and a lot of writers and show creators and runners and the behind-the-scenes people over the years, I understand that, a lot of these people, they have to listen to a higher up, and then that higher up has to listen to another higher up, and then that higher up has to think about, okay, what do we want to present to these kids? And I understand that anime was sort of a new thing back back then for Americans, even though that we had the likes of Speed Racer and all this other stuff. And I know that we still had Deke with the dubbing of Sailor Moon. I understand that it was still fertile ground. But yeah, I think that a lot of the decisions that 4Kids did do in the likes of trying to lighten anime that was, for older kids and teenagers into something much younger and dumbing down the demographic, it didn't really help much with the reputation. And I don't hate anybody who worked on it. I just really question their quality.
Here on out, we got better scripted dubs. They changed less than the English stuff, but the English voice acting was rocky for several years with this series.
Sure.
I mean, to a degree, you can understand that because they're new voice actors to these characters, and they're still getting used to them. But in this movie, it was very clear that they weren't used to these characters. The voice acting is really bad in English, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was. I do know that Sarah Nanoshetty, who's the current voice of Ash in the English dub, nowadays she's voiced her longer than Veronica Taylor, which is crazy to believe. But now it's when I first saw this movie when I was in college, and I heard the different voice acting. I was just so distracted with the voice acting that I didn't even remember the story.
It's too throaty and gravelly in her performance, yeah.
But I did. But when watching the movies, the more recent movies, she has gotten a lot better since then.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's go over to the Diamond and Pearl series. So we have the Rise of Darkrai, and this was like my very first time introduced to the Diamond and Pearl anime in any form because I've never seen it before. And this was actually pretty interesting to get the introduction of Darkrai, Dialga, and Palkia because I have yet to play any of the video games. And it's actually pretty interesting. I mean, just these gigantic Pokemon that are the equivalent of space and time. I thought it was pretty interesting. It does have a lot at stake with, like, oh, this huge town is going to be destroyed or whatever, again, taking place in another city. So, I don't really know how people feel about this one. I just thought it was, I thought it was pretty interesting. It definitely felt like there was a lot at stake.
I love the scene where Baron Alberto gets turned into a Licky Licky. I'm sorry, that's just funny.
I'm going to say this straight out since this is going to address the next 4 movies, but they get bonus points for me for sharing a continuity and building off of each other. Like, each of the events explored in the movie are expanded upon or informed by other events in the following or previous ones around them.
Oh, okay, so it does continue from the anime.
Yeah, from the movies.
Oh, from the movies, okay.
Like, but the Giratina that appears in the second movie had his events informed and created by the first one. That Giratina and Arceus and Palkia are present in Arceus's movie. Zoroark's movie has its villain being part caused by the events of the first one.
Oh, okay. Now that I think about it, I think I do remember that.
The only problem with that is when you were watching the movies out of order like I was, which may have been a stupid decision on my part, but I thought it made things more interesting, is that when you just watch Rise of Darkrai by itself, then you really have no idea why Dialga and Palkia are doing what they're doing there. And then but I do really admire that the approach that they took. They could have, because of Darkrai's abilities and what is described as in the Pokédex and in the games, it's basically the Freddy Krueger of Pokemon. It goes into your nightmares and possibly puts you to sleep for eternity.
Yeah, I think from what I remember in a video that I saw discussing about Darkrai, wasn't there something in Black and White where it involved like some little girl who disappeared because of Darkrai or something?
That was actually in Diamond and that was actually in Sinnoh as well.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So if they did it with I think they fleshed it out more in Platinum. But like I said, they could have taken that approach with it, but instead they actually took the opposite approach and made Darkrai the kind of hero of the movie, even though that's what even though it kind of plays upon the perception of not only the characters, but what the audience would have been expecting if we were just familiar with the mon from the games.
Yeah, because for what I recall, I think I even remember seeing in Super Smash Brothers Brawl, like a little history behind them. They were kind of like these two rival Pokemon who are constantly fighting off against each other when it comes to space and time. So you would think, oh, maybe they're like rivals or something. It's kind of like Groudon and Kyogre. But no, in this movie they were kind of working together to fight off this other Pokemon, and then they were trying to destroy the town or something. I don't know, but yeah, I was kind of confused.
Their specialties were feuding. They were feuding over their specialties as their realms were bleeding into each other, and they didn't like that. And Darkrai knew about it because he's not exactly part of normal reality and could try and warn people, but because he creates nightmares, he's pretty much a legendary version of Absol in that people don't trust him because he's always connected to bad things.
Oh, okay.
So there's definitely a good message there about, not judging a book by its cover, not assuming that just because something seems terrifying it is. And they really tried to get a little nightmarish at times with the whole, with parts of the town basically disappearing into the interdimensional void. But then it just feels like a cop-out when it's all undone so quickly.
Now, plus what they do with Darkrai here and making that these technically demonic-looking Freddy Krueger Pokemon character being actually a good guy, a lot of Japanese media explores the apparent devil is actually supposed to be the hero character stuff, so it doesn't exactly feel that much special. That it doesn't feel like it's special at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and again, going back to the whole CGI issue, they were trying to, in this town, I believe that there are these ancient towers that are crafted by artists in Spain, and basically it was made out of everyday materials. So they made those two towers the centerpiece of the town, but it really doesn't look as good in CGI as Not Venice did in Pokemon Heroes.
Yeah. Plus the monsters are calmed by the playing of music, and it's like, how many times can you use this cliche in a Japanese series? This is not the Hymn of the Faith from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a Pokemon affected by music, I mean, that sounds very similar to Snorlax from the Pokemon Flute.
Or the Maze song in the Jirachi movie. It's like, this comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. I guess some Pokemon are affected by music? Question mark?
Oh, and the Lugia movie, too.
Yeah, there you go. That's another example, right. So, yeah, when the girl plays her ocarina, everything starts calming down and getting back to normal. So, yeah, I guess some Pokemon are affected by music.
At least in Mother, the 8 melodies are an integral part of the game from the very beginning.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I think I do need to watch all the anime series in order for me to understand what's going on. So I can actually maybe watch them and maybe have context. Alright, so we have Giratina and the Bouquet of the Frozen Sky Shaman, or Giratina and the Sky Warrior. And
Shaman's a dick.
Yeah, oh my god. I don't know what I understand that he's the smallest of the legendaries, but I didn't expect him to be this unlikable.
Apparently, in the original Japanese, he was actually very endearing, but they just made him a cocky little brat. I swear to God, I want to dump a bottle of weed killer on the little prick.
Okay, if you've seen my review of this movie, you know that I pretty much hate Shaman on the same level that Confused Matthew hates Simba from The Lion King. It's just like, ugh. Every time the character is on screen, it's just, he takes away every good thing I had to say about this movie.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there wasn't a lot of good I had to say about the movie even without him.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so cute. It was just like this little tiny creature all surrounded by plants, and it looks so adorable. But then he was like incredibly cocky. He's like, oh, I don't need your help with this. I can be able to do it. It's like, what?
Baka.
Plus, Giratina is a far more interesting character to explore, as I said, with these 4 movies sharing continuity. its entire conflict is caused as fallout from the Rise of Darkrai movie.
Yeah, exactly. So you would think that maybe, because these movies, I mean, are they the only movie series that are connected? Or there's like... Sort of, okay. So with these movies being connected with the generation, you would think that, maybe it could be a continuation of this. Maybe I can explore more things. But this just left me more confused. And then I was actually really irritated. Every time he showed up, it's like, I don't need you or something. Like, it's like, why are you even here? I don't get it.
The distortion world imagery, at least, is pretty interesting.
Sure.
That was a good concept.
And then we had... I think he's one of the most disappointing human villains since Pokemon the Movie 2000.
Oh, yeah, this guy. He wants to control the distortion world, but why?
Well, in the English dub, it sounded more like he wants to take over the distortion world because he wants a world all to himself.
That doesn't make any sense, though.
Huh. Yeah, why would you want a world to yourself if you're the only person in it? I mean, you would go crazy from the isolation.
Yeah, I think I even remember that.
So surround yourself by Pokemon like N does.
Yeah, and I was kind of confused. I was kind of confused. It's like, wasn't one of the one of the team leaders wanted to destroy the world or something to have like beautiful people around or something? And
Cyrus.
Yeah, there you go. Cyrus. Yeah. But this guy wants to take it to a whole other level. It's like, nope, screw everybody. I just want to have myself in it. It's like, what?
Yeah, in the English dub, he's called Zero, and that's because there is nothing to his character.
Insert Mega Man X joke here. All right, I thought this movie was so annoying. I mean, not only because, again, I didn't know what was going on with the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl series, but this... seriously, Shaman just was so annoying. I mean, his cute exterior fooled me. It's like, I'm gonna be this annoying little prick throughout the entire movie. It's okay.
They're just going for irony because Shaman is the gratitude Pokemon, so they made it really ungrateful.
Ironic. All right, moving on. So, now we have Arceus to Conquering Space-Time, or Arceus and the Jewel of Life, or Arceus, or Arceus, or whatever. Essentially, he's God.
Can I just say that is the most Japanese title I've ever heard? Arceus to Conquering the Space-Time.
Yeah. No, seriously. This was... I remember a few years ago when they finally revealed on... This is the God Pokemon. And I'm like, okay. So, it's not Mew anymore?
No. Mew is the origin of life Pokemon because it shares genetics with all other Pokemon, and the descendants of Mew each were trapped in the specific form that Mew chose to take at that time, or some other such crap. So it's the origin of life, but not the creator of life.
I'm confused.
This really does throw a whole new wrench into the debate over Pokemon evolution and intelligent versus intelligent design.
Well, the creators did try to sort of skate around that by saying he's more God in the Buddhist sense. He's
a physical manifestation of God's power, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm confused. Anyway, so, now we have this one where it does feature Arceus, whatever. So we have back Ash, John, and Brock, and they're traveling over to another town, and it's in distress because we didn't cover that in the other movies or whatever. And now they're being sent over to there's time travel in this movie now, which
time travel does not work that way.
We can't follow Back to the Future logic, otherwise it would make somewhat sensible.
Basically, Lady Satsuki needs his help to save the space-time continuum.
Pretty much.
Yeah. At least it's informed that this whole conflict in this movie and Arceus' rage is why Dialga and Palkia were fighting in the first movie, and thus caused the events of the Giratina movie. So it makes internal sense, and them befriending Dialga is why they're allowed to travel back in time to pretty much set things right with Arceus. But the problem is that the way they deal with stuff in the past should make it automatically change the future, And it's like, it's pretty much the same until they're back and Arceus is attacking. And no, wait, he's attacking because he doesn't remember the changes, but the changes are all around him already, and that he's already has the jewel back. So why is he attacking now?
Yeah.
It's like the changes haven't caught up with God, even though what God does in the movie would have been rewritten by the events, and it's like, shouldn't the changes have affected you first because you were directly part of them?
Yeah,
and so either you wouldn't remember the changes at all, so the conflict would continue even though getting your goal is completely gone, or you would be the first to remember these things and would never have attacked in the first place.
My nose is bleeding trying to work out the paradox. Sorry. My nose.
I've gone cross-eyed.
Yep.
Like, there's like and even if you're God but not really God, how are you beaten by being covered in liquid silver?
Well, at the time, he apparently didn't have all the plates that he was supposed to.
Even without all of them, that's still kind of a stretch.
I'm thinking the idea the movie presents is because he's lacking those plates, he's now weak to those elements.
Yeah.
Because it was what?
Yeah, I guess that makes
grass,
sense.
steel, electric. No, he didn't use steel. It was grass, water, electric, ground, and dragon that he lost the plates for. So I guess the idea of liquid silver was that because it was molten at the time, it was counted as a water attribute thing.
Kind of weird considering that this is a god Pokemon, and I would expect it to be like stronger than anything else. I was kind of confused.
Yeah.
It's like Mewtwo can kick the shit out of him.
Yeah, and that would be an epic confrontation. Arceus confronts Mewtwo. You dare stand before a god? And Mewtwo says, "What is a god to a non-believer?"
Are you a god?
No. Then die.
Yeah.
Actually,
So the moral of this story
context
is when someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
Actually, in this context, would that make Diagon, Palkia, Zool, and I'm forgetting the one who was
Vince
Clortho.
Vince Clortho. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, I mean, they have abilities for time-dimensional travel. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But who would be Gorza?
Gozer.
Gozer would be Giratina, and Arceus would be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes!
Well said.
Someone make fan art of that.
Yes, absolutely. I want to see that. Tweet me at Patty_B_Miranda for that fan art. Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah, so okay, let's discuss about the last one under this duology, whatever. So tetralogy, whatever, I don't care. So we have Phantom Ruler Zoroark, or Zoroark Master of Illusions. Now, I remember when I first saw the movie, it's like, oh man, there's this Entei that is causing trouble, but no, it's actually this Pokemon in disguise. And yeah, it's kind of interesting because you have the little child, Zora, who is trying to find its mother, and Ash and the gang help along with the journey. And again, with the whole time traveling thing, it gets a little bit confusing, but yeah, I would say that this little subplot with the child and the mother is actually pretty cute, and it's actually a lot more better than the whole shaman thing, in which, oh, this is a legendary Pokemon who's very small, and it's actually pretty nice. I actually do like this one. It's actually a really interesting Pokemon that can be able to disguise itself, and yeah, I have been familiar with it on the games because a few people use it competitively, but yeah, this was like the first time in which I actually saw what this Pokemon was capable of.
Yeah, it does look... sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I was going to say, like I said in the review, I think the way they handled Zorua in this movie is the way Shaman should have been handled in the previous movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mischievous but not mean-spirited.
Well said.
Exactly.
Yeah, Zorua was the real heart of this movie, and his his or her, I forget the gender, but Zoro's efforts to
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, trying to reunite with his mother, with Zoroark, and just the struggles they went through. It really did give it a lot of weight, which kind of helped because the movie to me felt far too cluttered.
It's because of the deception theme, because the villain of the movie is pretty much doing thematically with the same thing as what the Zoroark do, deceiving people into thinking they are different than they actually are, and all this diversions and misdirection to something that's pretty clear to see up front if you're paying attention that they are not who you think they are.
Including I do think that a lot of the changes they made were to its detriment. For example, including the real legendary beast in the mix was really pointless. They didn't do anything in the end.
It was just padding.
Then they retconned how Celebi's time portals work, so Kaido could absorb their energy and become immortal, because they leave portals behind when Celebi didn't do that in the previous movie.
I guess Celebi left its portal gun behind.
Not like the not like the original Celebi movie addressed much about Celebi's powers, because it was more the guardian of the forest spirit, which is less time travel than plant-based powers. In a lot of ways, this is similar to the Lucario movie, though, in that it's advertising a Pokemon from the next generation while also tying back to a previous generation's legendary.
That, and they sort of to that effect, they basically turn Zoroark in this movie into the Mother T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Yeah. She could basically destroy everything. Even in her very last moments, she still used her illusions to trick the bad guys so the heroes could win. Yeah. And yes, I know it does include one of those cop-out deaths that's instantly negated, but honestly, after all the hell that these two went through, I think they kind of earned it a little bit more than some of the previous entries did.
It did. I also did notice one thing. Whenever Zoroark was shouting, I thought she sounded kind of like Link at times. I
wouldn't be surprised if they were the same voice actor.
I can look that up.
Sure. Anyway, so yeah, so definitely I think that the fact that it was, just like in the previous movies, it was trying to, build up toward the next generation, but at the same time, it showcased the 3 legendary dogs, which, oh man, I was actually really excited, and then brought back Celebi, and I was like, oh man, Generation 2 is coming back, which I guess it did make a lot of sense, because weren't the remakes of the Gen 2 games coming out at the time?
Yes.
So I guess it made a lot of sense why they came into this movie. Yeah, I guess we can go over to the next one, which are the black and white movies. And I have to ask a question. So, the black and white Victini movies, why were they the same movie? They were different, but I don't understand. Why were they essentially 2 of the same movies with different plots? I'm curious.
If I knew the answer to that question, then I'd be a millionaire.
It's stupid. It really is. Yeah, with how they did that. It's like, it's the same freaking movie. You're just featuring the different legendary. Romy Park.
And occasionally occasionally there were different settings and different other Pokemon involved, and occasionally some of the Pokemon were just recolored.
Yeah, if there were significant changes, I could understand that, but the movies are practically interchangeable. The only thing I could really make the connection to is that didn't they suggest that black and white were taking place in parallel realities in the games?
No,
I think that was they did that with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Oh, right.
The thing is, though, is that wasn't referencing different realities. It's like a version of reality where Mega Evolution didn't exist. They're referencing the original Gen 3 games with that. It wasn't full on universe shift.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I get. So essentially, what they're trying to do is that, hey, we have 2 different games. Let's make 2 different movies to emphasize our new legendaries.
Except they never felt the need to do that with any of the previous movies.
Yeah, they never did that. They never made a second movie of either of the other movies we were discussing about to promote it. It's like, we didn't need to have a separate movie with the 3 legendary dogs and then add in Lugia and then add in Jirachi, and then add in, Groudon and Kyogre and what have you. It's like, out of all of them, this was the one that they needed to split off into 2?
Yeah.
It's like they didn't even really split into 2, though. It's just the same movie. It's just that one's focused around the monsters having a focus around truth, and the other one is the movie with the monster focused around ideals. And they wrap up pretty much the same way. As either taking to extremes is self-destructive, and that's pretty much one of the motifs of Gen 5, but that wasn't worth making a separate movie out of.
Yeah, they could have easily...
And Gen 5, the story of Gen 5's games did the story a lot better anyway.
Yeah. Hey, at least it didn't get as bad. At least it wasn't endless 8 levels of bad for the repetition.
Oh.
All right. I really don't know too much about the black and white stories. And, I thought that the first time when I saw it, it was interesting, but... Then when I saw it a second time, but it had the little minor changes, I'm like, why didn't they put these 2 together just like the other movies? So, yeah, I was...
Basically, the only way you can get these movies anyway is in a box set with 2 of them. And so ultimately, it really feels like a pointless exercise.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure this will be a great exercise for film students. Try to see if you can find a way to edit both of these movies into a coherent plot.
Okay, that's part of this, too, is that they released both of these movies on the same day, but in different theaters. Are you all familiar with the movie Clue?
Yes.
Yes.
In the original theatrical release of the film, you know how but that's how it could have happened, but this is how it really happened?
Yeah,
thing at the end? Each release of the movie had a different ending, and it was only one of those endings, and not all of them gathered together as it was for the home releases.
Right.
This is pretty much that movie, except expanded into an entire storyline.
Oh man, that would have been so confusing. 3 or 4 different versions of Clue with different endings, and all of them are the same movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been confusing. I'm sure, if kids from Japan were like, hey, I just saw the newest Pokemon movie with Victini and Zekrom. No, you mean Victini and Reshiram. No, it was like this, and then no, it was like that, and...
Third base.
Oh, God, that would be a mess.
It would be an impressive level of trolling.
Yeah, it was. As if memory serves, I didn't actually see these movies around that time, but I got some of the buzz from just flow over because this was 2011, and 2011 was when they released in America, and no one really seemed to like these movies.
I don't really have much to say about this, so I'm moving on. So we have the next one, Kiram versus the Sacred Swordsman Keldeo, or Kiram versus the Sword of Justice, because justice!
Together we can be justice, blah, blah, blah.
Who are you calling short?
Oh.
Yeah, Keldeo. I like this Pokemon, actually.
He's voiced by the voice actor for Ed Elric.
Yeah, and there actually is a brief bit where I of course had to put a clip of that in the review, but it's too bad that the movie he's in is basically one long chase scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Vic Mignogna is the voice of Keldeo. Keldeo, yeah. Bleh, I can speak. That's actually pretty awesome. So, yeah, I think that was actually really, really nice to have this really cool Pokemon that's sort of like a representation of a kind of like a unicorn knight Pokemon in a sense.
Is he a unicorn or a Kirin?
I don't know.
It's, I think, a bit of both, but regardless, he's the 4th man of the Musketeers. I have never seen any of the Musketeers. D'Artagnan, yes. So
okay.
I like this movie due to it proving as a character arc for him in his interactions and how meeting the main group and their nobility helps him find his own inner resolve to stand with those that he wants to be like.
His sword, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do love that the whole Three Musketeers aspect, and I also like how this movie actually puts more focus on the Pokemon than on the humans. It's a neat little, a neat approach.
One person, when I was reviewing all of the Pokemon movies in order, described this as the worst Pokemon movie, and I'm like, no,
Why?
even with all of its flaws, I'm like, I can't agree with that. It's definitely not one of the most meaty movies out there.
No, not really. I mean, if it wasn't for Keldeo, I wouldn't really say too much praise about it. But as for the worst, no, I've seen much worse.
Yeah.
It's barely over an hour long, so it's not like it's padded to hell like Manaphy's movie is.
True.
Yeah, because after the movie stopped being released in theaters, they really started to become more like TV movies in America, and this is sort of one of those examples.
Sure.
Well, the length of the original production of the movie in Japan wouldn't exactly factor in there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the last one of the Black and White series, which is Extreme Speed Genesect Mewtwo Awakened, or Genesect and the Legend Awakened. And we have Mewtwo back, except it's not the same Mewtwo, and it's in, it eventually forms into its Y form. And it has a woman voice, which is actually pretty interesting. Although I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed that it wasn't the same Mewtwo from the first movie.
Yeah, that was the big disappointment for this one. I got a context to that around the time this one was premiering as well, and it's like, people were irritated. It's like, Mewtwo's back! We're following up on Mewtwo finally! No, this is a different Mewtwo. It's like, oh, I know I don't want to see it. And it's like, it's Mewtwo! What do you expect?
Yeah, and I guess, with it being a different Mewtwo, I kind of question, did they create another Mewtwo? Did this Mewtwo...
They did,
okay, so they created another Mewtwo, so now there's two Mewtwoos. Okay. I guess that makes a lot of sense for a female.
Mew4.
Mew4.
Good one.
And this is something I actually want to see followed up on at some point. I want to see first gen Mewtwo meeting 6th gen lead-in Mewtwo, and it's like, compare contrast their experiences as, for simplicity, let's just call her Mewtwo Y. Mewtwo Y has a lot of
I just call her Mewtwo.
Okay, fine. Mewtwo has a lot of different experiences and seems like a more stable person overall. And I like that how she is kind of helping the Genesect of the movie in the exact same way it appears that she was helped, and that she's comfortable with herself in her existence and seeking her own home. And that's comparable to the Genesect in how the world around them has changed. They don't know anything about it anymore, and they don't know where they are and what they're doing.
But in that, you can also see some of the weaknesses that people pointed out, because Mewtwo as a character had a lot more development, whereas Mewtwo, when she escaped, she was raised by Pokemon, and therefore, because of what happened to her and other Pokemon like her, she hates humanity. Except at the very end of the movie, when she's like, "No, humans are okay."
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
I can
not
see
completely
that
stable.
I can see that tangent as well. Whereas it almost seems as if they were kind of setting up for the original Mewtwo to come in with that kind of thing, as it's an echo of the character arc, which the original Mewtwo could easily have been inserted into. But with how it's presented, I don't hate this character for not being the original Mewtwo.
Agreed. And to be honest, I kind of feel like Mewtwo got closure to his story arc in the OVA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And I did see the OVA thinking that it was actually a theatrical movie, but it wasn't. It was actually just a movie that they did show on TV. So I guess, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that at the end or something.
I do have something else to say about another movie that never was technically released as a movie at the end of this. But
sure.
Let's talk. But let's keep going with the rest of the theatrical.
No, I'm actually curious.
Not theatrical movies, but still.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Was Genesect another creature that was created similar to Mewtwo?
Yeah, it was basically an ancient Pokemon that was fitted with various mechanical enhancements.
Okay.
They're the Daleks of the Pokemon universe. Daleks of the Pokemon universe.
Oh, okay, yeah. And that also brings another question that maybe it could have been like a similar story with Genesect, trying to figure out, oh, I'm a creature that was revived after thousands of years, and I have all of this, I've been genetically altered. It could have been a really interesting thing of how it was feeling, how it was reacting, and it was, but I think that because a lot of people overshadowed the fact that, oh, this isn't the same Mewtwo that we knew about, it just... it almost kind of like overshadowed it for me, but yeah, there was like a whole bunch of Genesect, and the only one that really stuck out was that there was a red one and the rest of them were purple. I guess the red one was the shiny form or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, and there's kind of a pet peeve that I have with the lore of this movie. They tried to differentiate all of the Genesect by giving them names associated with the different drive items that Genesect can hold, and I'm like, you can't tell the difference in the movie what Genesect is what.
Yeah,
the only
because
two
the
that
drives are
stand
on the
out
back, and unless you're seeing them from behind, you don't know which cartridge they have installed.
Yeah, the only two Genesect in this movie that stand out are the sad one that Mewtwo bonds with, and the leader, who's basically like, humans bad. I subjugate all of his, and has the ability to magically subjugate all of his counterparts into turning against them.
Yeah, again, like I said, they're Pokemon Daleks.
Yeah. Does that make the red one Davros?
No, it makes them the Power Ranger Daleks that no one ever saw again.
Alright, I guess we can go over to the X and Y series. So we have Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction. And I actually did meet up with the voice actors behind Serena, Clement, and Bonnie. And they were really nice people. I met them over at Florida SuperCon last year. And this was like, when I was watching the movies, I was like, oh, this was what they were in, with the X and Y anime and then the movies. So... And actually explain, and like I said before, the X and Y games was how I got back into Pokemon. So, yeah, I actually thought that I actually was really excited to actually see some of the stuff that came out of it because I'd never seen it before. And so this one right here, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting, introducing the actual legendary Pokemons, Xerneas and Evolto, and we get introduced to Diancie, which is this really nice looking Pokemon. Looks like it's made out of, like, real, like these pink diamonds. I thought it was really pretty.
Yeah. Too much pink energy is dangerous.
Right.
Diancie, I feel, is adorable and has a pretty decent character arc of her trying to live up to the expectations of her citizens, disciples,
she's a
worshippers.
Pokemon Disney princess.
She's a Pokemon Disney princess
Yeah.
out on her own for the first time to be able to create her kingdom's heart diamond. So
now that I think about it, that whole recent buyout with 20th Century Fox, and wasn't like the part of the Pokemon company, like the distribution, wasn't some of the Pokemon movies in there or something?
Most of the Pokemon movies are Viz Media / Warner Brothers and what was the original studio? Miramax. So unless Miramax is owned by Fox, I don't think so.
Okay, so
Miramax was actually owned by Disney at least.
Okay, so I guess
Walt Disney Company.
Okay, so I guess in this case we cannot count Diancie as a Disney princess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite, but we can say Anastasia is one.
That's right. We did the what you call it? We just covered the Fox Animation Studios podcast about a month ago, and yeah, we discussed about Anastasia, and yeah, now it's officially canon. Now everybody who's saying for decades that Anastasia was not a Disney princess, well, technically she is now. So I hope you guys are happy. But yeah, I really like this. I really like Diancie. I liked her design. I liked her story. I thought that it was, going back into what I was talking about with, Zora and Keldeo. It was taking these cute little legendary Pokemons and actually making stories out of them that are actually really fascinating.
Plus, the jewel thieves are all kind of interesting with their quirks and how they play off of each other and the main cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of disagree with you there because for my money, I think the movie actually did suffer a little bit from including so many villains.
Okay, I can see that.
It was a little cluttered there, But I have to agree with Davis because I always like quirky thieves.
Yeah.
I agree, but it just felt like there's Team Rocket, and then there's this one faction of thieves there's other faction of thieves that's trying to betray them, and that's just it was a clusterfuck basically.
Yeah.
I guess if we don't count Team Rocket, then maybe we just have the thieves, you know?
It's not like Team Rocket actually does anything in there. They get showered in temporarily existing gemstones and then are out of the film for most of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost every.
Those gems really reminded me of the leprechaun gold from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then there was so like I said, I like the idea behind Deontay's movie. I like her character art. She's actually a pretty good character as far as Disney princesses go, and she does affect the plot a lot more than a lot of them do. I'll say that. And it does feel a little bit cluttered, but yeah, like I said, this ultimately did make it into the top 10 of my favorites. So I can't really say I dislike it.
Sure. Yeah.
It kind of feels like a microcosm of the XY improvements in storytelling in comparison to previous years. I didn't exactly watch, but I kept track of it, and there was a lot more attempts at actual characterization for the Pokemon and Player of the Week than more than just here's advertisement of this Pokemon you should be using in the games kind of stuff.
I've been hearing a lot of talks about the anime of the X and Y anime incarnation, and from what I've heard from a lot of people online, they were saying this is the best anime series since the original, and now I'm actually a lot more curious to check it out.
Part of that is from the animation, which they really did a lot more dynamic battles than Pokemon using attack by this with this slashing lines colored background around them. Yeah, they didn't really do that in that series.
Though that can sometimes backfire when it comes to the anime. And anyone remember, they're using thunder as armor!
That's not how thunder works.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Technically, it is when you get into force field technology, but
that's
not the
so
way they were using it.
complicated. Yeah. Oh god.
I mean, so are we going on to the next movie?
Yes, let's do so. Because if we're going to be talking about the science and physics behind Pokemon, my god.
We'd be here all night.
Yes, we'll be here all night. All right.
Again, I say this is the stuff we leave to Matt Pat.
Yeah, let's do that, please. Let's do that.
Or Ganoggin, however you pronounce it.
Sure, whatever. All right, so next one. The Arch-Genie of the Rings Hoopa, or Hoopa and the Clash of Ages. Or essentially what I like to call Jirachi if done right.
Ad service, the movie.
Well said.
Yeah, I mean, it results in a giant Pokemon kaiju battle halfway through it.
Yeah, that is freaking awesome. I
loved it.
I love it. This movie has a lot going for it. It's got a nice Arabian Nights motif, a lot of good action scenes like the kaiju battle, some strong character moments. The only thing I have an issue with is Hoopa itself. Just comes off too annoying. Honestly,
he's in between Shaman and Zorua for me.
Yeah, I can see that, but he lent a little more towards the Shaman side for me, to the point where I turned the volume down whenever he talked.
Yeah. I get it from a character perspective because he's based off of a Jin, and there are two types of wish-granting magical spirits in Arabian Tales. The genie, which are pretty much the straight-up, yes, master, I will do as you command. And then you have the more mischievous Djinn, who twist the wishes and are a bit more selfish and not inclined to use their powers selflessly. And Hoopa is more the latter. It's more benevolent versus malicious.
Oh, so
kind of the relation, not so much a heaven and health thing.
So kind of like there's between leprechauns and kulacrons, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah. And don't get me started on the Ifrit.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, I did really like Hoopa's gimmick and the whole Pokemon thinking with portals idea. I didn't really dislike Hoopa as much as some of the people who comment on the video did. I do realize how he could have gotten annoying to some people, but to me it didn't. It was. I think maybe it's because I watched it directly after I watched the Shaman movie. I was just a bit relieved.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, Eli. How did you choose the movies? Did you have it randomized, like with a random website, or did you pick it out of a piece of paper?
I just randomly decided which ones. I didn't have any method.
Okay.
But because of the whole, but near the end of that season, I was kind of wanting to get reviewing all of the movies out of the way, because originally, like I said, I had planned before the 250th episode, I had planned to finish up my Pokemon movie review series, at least until the next movie came out. But then I was like, wait, the next movie's already out. I thought it wasn't out for the next several months. Screw it. I'll review that instead.
Yeah.
And eventually, but I do like how it worked out, because after that there was the 250th episode with The Legend of Korra, and then that's when I got to do the top 22 Pokemon movies I've reviewed, which I think stands up pretty well today. But
I'd say it does. Yeah.
A lot of people did take issue with the fact with how much stuff I got wrong in the Origins episode, but that's something that I put behind me. I mean, I basically finished all of the movies at this point.
Yeah. So you have that on your belt, as opposed to like people like me who had to watch like half of the movies in less than a month.
And easy marathon for me, because I just watched them while I was editing.
Oh. I can't do anything like that.
Me neither.
I need to have full concentration whenever I'm editing my videos.
Yeah. Other than the giant kaiju battle, is there anything else to talk about with the Hoopa movie?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of on the top of my head. So let's discuss about the last one in the X and Y series. We have Volcanion and the exquisite what was it? Magnura? Magearna. There, thank you. So and otherwise known as Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel.
Otherwise known as Ash meets Dr. Eggman.
Who falls in love with one of his own robots.
Yeah.
Sadly, I don't have anything to say on this movie, as I could not find a copy of it to watch. So I'm out.
So basically, we got another story where Legendary hates humans, but this time it's in a village that's more closer. It's a more steampunk setting, and this. Because they got this whole town that's basically runs on magic technology, and we got kind of a Beauty and the Beast story with Magearna and Volcanion, because Volcanion protected it when it ran away from the people who were trying to misuse it for the. Because part of the town can be weaponized into a floating fortress, and because the creator, who is a total dick, by the way, put the activation key for the fortress inside Magearna and brought it to life with it.
How many cities is this in Pokemon now that can be turned into weapons? Wasn't that part of the thing in the Latias movie? And we had the castle in the Victini movies, and it's like,
what is the defense budget in the Pokemon world?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know that there were talks about the Pokemon War when you talked to Lieutenant Surge, but man, it's like, I know that the war was probably a long time ago, but at least have some defense when a Pokemon attacks.
It's like, you have legendaries out there that can destroy the world, but it's like, turning an entire city into a weapon, I don't think would be a good defense against something that powerful.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Honestly, to me, the Volcanion movie felt like a retread of a lot of the previous movies, and not for the best.
Yeah,
Same.
I did notice that a lot. Like, oh, we have another city that's being attacked. Oh, we have a Pokemon that hates humans. Yeah. Oh, we have this huge MacGuffin, and it's gonna destroy or save something. Oh, we have the legendary Pokemon and Ash teaming up together. So, I guess this is kind of like a best of from the Pokemon movies.
Say they've done 19, so it's pretty obvious they're going to be retreading old ground frequently now.
Yeah, and I guess with the 20th movie, they were like, instead of retreading old ground, let's just rehash old episodes from the anime.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, instead of retreading, they're just rebooting.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so who's seen the newest movie?
I haven't.
Neither have I.
As far as I know, it's just a retread of the first arc of the series, with including everything up to including parts of Gen 7, and making it more about Ash trying to find Ho-Oh directly after the first encounter.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Also, Pikachu talks.
Yes. Okay. Now, everybody's gonna be wondering in the comments. This clip was leaked online as soon as the movie came out.
Because it's so meme-worthy.
I know. What did you guys think of it?
Does anyone else actually understand Pikachu talking, or is it just Ash? Because if it's just Ash, it more proves the and echoes of the whole aura affinity possibility plot line, as apparently you can understand Pokemon talking if you can use aura power.
Yeah, I guess that does make a lot of sense if you were a Pokemon of aura like Lucario, or if you were a psychic Pokemon like Mewtwo. And it is true that what was it? Yeah, I think I remember that when Marshadow, that's what it was called. Marshadow came along, and it was sucking Ash into like this gray dimension area, and just when Ash was about to die again, Pikachu starts talking to him and saying like, "No, Ash, I want to be with you. We need to stick together." And then when I kid you not, I was in the theater watching this, and I remember everybody in the back of me were just busting out laughing. They were like, "The fuck am I watching?" And I didn't know what to think of it either. Now, I can understand that the juxtaposition between Uke Otani's Pikachu voice acting and somebody else doing the voice acting does feel a little bit off. Like, if we would have heard, the original voice actor, Uke Otani speak in that way, then, okay, maybe that would make a lot more sense. But I don't think she even speaks English, so they had to get somebody else.
Yeah.
So I guess, in that context, I mean, sure, they're in this dark dimension being sucked in, and, Ash and Pikachu are in severe danger, and Ash tells Pikachu, get back inside your Pokemon, I want to protect you. We are, throughout this entire movie, you've hated me, but now we're becoming friends, and Pikachu, this is supposed to be like the big scene in which Pikachu cares for Ash, and that's when they develop the friendship that they've had for 20 years, and then when it starts talking, that's when a lot of people got really shocked by it. It's like, why is the Pokemon talking or something like that?
I think this is going to stigmatize Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, if anyone should voice Pikachu, it should be Ryan Reynolds, obviously.
Yeah.
I would have I would have gone with Rob Paulson.
Oh, Rob
or
Paulson
Danny
would have been
DeVito,
good, yeah.
apparently.
Danny DeVito, what?
No, it's a meme. There's just
probably.
I mean, the whole thing. The thing is, though, it didn't feel necessary to actually have it talk, because in the original story we got across the connection that Pikachu had with Ash without words.
Yeah,
it's
that is
necessary.
true. I did mention this in the We're in Between episode of As Told by Ginger, discussing about an episode where it involves with little to no talking and letting the atmosphere taking over. Now, remember, Jim, when we were discussing about in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions about how a particular scene happened when it came to Yugi and another character?
Yeah.
And you remember how much we enjoyed it because it involved with no talking. It just had the characters just looked each other in the face and they acknowledged what was going on, and that was all you needed.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
The scene where in the original where Ash saved Pikachu from the Spearow, and, he saw the sacrifice that Ash did, that was enough. That was strong enough that Pikachu was able to trust him. And we already did get that in the movie, but this scene, it was a definite indication that there needed to be a show no tell thing. I didn't mind the voice acting and the jarring talking or whatever. It just felt very padded. Not padded, panderized.
Yeah,
unnecessary.
My friend Ashley said it's fan fiction.
Yeah.
It's been a problem with a lot of kid, quote-unquote, oriented series where they include unnecessary dialogue because they don't think they can have a scene where people aren't talking but performing in actions. Like, let them perform the action without you ruining it with unnecessary talking.
Yeah. And I guess another thing that a lot of people were really disappointed at was that when Ash was teaming up with, his new traveling companions, they're not Brock and Misty, which, to be quite honest, I mean, Brock and Misty in the games were the gym leaders, so they wouldn't have a real reason to travel with Ash through his journey. So the fact that it's these new people, it's like, okay, I can kind of understand that they had to have new people involved because this is a reboot telling a retelling of the first time that Ash and Pikachu first met. And these two characters, they were fine. I liked one of them a lot more than the other, to be quite honest. But yeah, let's see, what was I gonna say? Like, the characters were named, what was it, like,
I have the wiki page pulled up. They're named Sorrel and Verity, and they're both from Sinnoh.
Yeah, that's right. Sorrel was not very interesting. No, not Sorrel. Venity, that's what it was. Yeah. Venity was not very interesting. He was like the Pokemon doctor, was he? Yeah, I think he was the Pokemon doctor. He was not a very interesting character. He tried to be like Brock, in the sense. Yeah. While Sorrel was actually pretty cool. And apparently, in the Japanese version, she was confirmed to be Cynthia's daughter, which I didn't know. I didn't know about in the English version. I think I recently researched in the Japanese version that I think this was hinted at to be Cynthia's daughter or something.
Well, of course she's cool if she's associated with Cynthia.
That is true, yes. All right, so, yeah, I would say that if you are a Pokemon fan, besides that one scene, I would say check it out. It's a retelling of the first episode, that is true, but it does have some really interesting parts that they didn't add in. The animation's gorgeous, by the way. It's really nice, especially if you see it in a widescreen theater like I did. The music sucks, though. It really sucks. Like, the music is not memorable in the slightest. But other than that, I would say check it out. It's not one of my favorites. Definitely not considering of all the things that it does have and has. So it's okay to check out.
They're apparently making a sequel out of it.
Oh, they are. So that's what the next one's going to be about.
Yeah, a direct sequel to that one.
Okay, so I'm actually curious why. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I am going to be checking out for an eventual review. So yeah, I will be seeing it.
Okay, well have fun with that. There are a few scenes, actually, where it actually gets really dark. There's this one scene, I don't want to spoil it, but there was this flashback of, somebody in the mountains, and a Pokemon, goes through, like, something that you would never see in a movie. Well, I mean, you would see it in a movie, especially with all the stuff that we've been talking about, but it doesn't go all Deus Ex Machina or whatever. It actually happened, and it's actually pretty sad and shocking. But I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, but, it's a mixed bag, but it's okay. I don't hate it compared to everybody else who hates it, especially with that one scene, but it's okay. All right. Now, that's it with all 20 movies. Holy crap. All right. Now we can talk about the TV OVAs. So, we can talk about... go ahead.
I'm just afraid I'm going to have to cut out early. I'm going to go see the new Star Wars movie with my brother, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to bow out now.
Okay, that's awesome. That's fine. Thank you so much for joining, Jim.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Do you have anything to plug or self-promote?
Yes, I'm going to be working on something for Red Ribbon Reviews. It will be a review of DC Superhero Girls Intergalactic Games.
Okay, great.
Nice.
And I'm also going to get started on Chapter 8 of Power Rangers Helios. I'm hoping to have that out before the end of the month and not have another 4-month hiatus between chapters. See everyone.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay, so let's quickly discuss about the TV OVA. So, the continuation of Mewtwo Strikes Back, Mewtwo I Am Here, or Mewtwo Returns. So, yeah, it's actually, I was actually really surprised when seeing this for the first time when I was a kid. I remember seeing a commercial of it, and they were talking about, like, oh, Mewtwo's gonna be coming back, and it's gonna be a continuation from Mewtwo Strikes Back. And I'm like, oh, man, this is gonna be so awesome. And I saw it, and Yeah, it's actually, I'm actually pretty surprised that they actually did follow up on that. Sure, there were some problems here and there, but yeah, I thought it was actually a really satisfying conclusion.
I mean, I still enjoy it, but I am able to see Suede's point of view. A lot of the philosophy it brings up in this movie raises a lot more questions than it answers. But it was a decent attempt to give Mewtwo some closure that he never really got in the first movie, and I do really appreciate that. At the end, they were basically like, "Hey, you know that really crappy part of the ending of the first movie? That was really crappy, so we're going to undo it."
Yes.
Plus, Giovanni actually does something for the first time in this series that wouldn't really be seen again until I believe he had the 3 Sky Legendaries of the 5th gen had a battle with Ash in Gen 5. So,
and apparently he brought together all of the Pokemon villains in the new game. So yeah.
So basically, this is him actually doing something and being an active antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense considering that, Mewtwo killed off Professor Fuji, and so the next person he would have his revenge on would be Giovanni.
So it makes sense to him being involved out of his own seeming self-preservation, as he doesn't know at all what went down with Mewtwo in the first place to not make it a threat anymore, which kind of plays into the subtextual subplot of what Giovanni is doing from the original Gen 1 games in trying to get a Master Ball, steal powerful Pokemon, the Ghost type thing, which could counter Psychic type abilities. It kind of ties into that in a bit.
Yeah.
And how he's trying to find ways to fight Mewtwo after Mewtwo goes off on his own.
Right. So it actually someone connects to the video games, which is a shock. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty satisfying ending to Mewtwo's story. Would have I liked to see this Mewtwo alongside with the other Mewtwo in the Genesect movie? Sure, that would have been great. But if this was going to be the last time we were ever going to see this Mewtwo, then I was okay with it.
I think that one issue that a lot of people had with the new Mewtwo is that Ash never brings up the first Mewtwo when confronting the new one.
But I guess it makes a lot of sense because their memories were wiped out in the first movie.
Except they weren't at the end of the second movie.
Oh. Yeah, they left that alone in Mewtwo Returns, and even Mewtwo even tells them that he wiped their memories the first time. They're okay with that, but they don't want their memories gone this time, as that won't solve anything.
Exactly. So it really feels like there should have been a little bit more acknowledgement. I think that would have lessened the blow for a lot of the fans who were disappointed.
Yeah, maybe it was explained better in the Japanese version. Who knows?
Yeah, that the Genesect movie would have been better had that been mentioned, and then Mewtwo deciding to try and find classic Mewtwo and kind of like compare-contrast their experiences, and maybe the best way to find where they should be is together or something.
Sure.
I ship it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm not even a shipper. Okay.
Anyway.
Continuing on. Go ahead, continue.
I would say something about the Masterminds of Mirage Pokemon special, but I've already forgotten it.
Yeah, to be quite honest, let's not talk about it anymore.
It's just
that one's strange. As it was released in America before it went to Japan, and neither really seemed to like it very much.
I didn't like it either.
Well, first of all, apparently, if we thought that the dub of the Pokemon Ranger in the Temple of the Sea was bad, apparently this one was so bad when it was originally released on TV, they had to redub it for the DVD.
Oh God.
Yeah, but you can get it for free for Lucario, if you get a DVD of Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, which I would recommend anyway. But with this free movie, what do you get? Not a whole lot. Basically, it was released as a 10th anniversary special to the anime, and we sort of get Mewtwo here, except not really. He's a hologram. He's just basically this guy discovers a way to cheat in the Pokemon anime and basically create perfect Pokemon with no weaknesses.
Perfect IVs, the goal of all trainers.
And
he basically discovers how to hack in the anime, except it doesn't really go well because apparently the first program he created, a Mew, had a soul. I don't know how.
What?
It's not really explained.
What?
It's really stupid.
My God.
Like, it doesn't even really feel like a 10th anniversary special either.
No.
I mean, other than showing clips from previous movies, it's not really a celebration of Pokemon. And they brought back Misty, but she doesn't do a whole lot except save May when she falls. Oh wait, no, May saves Misty when she falls off a building.
Oh.
But that's basically it.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't want to talk about this one again. All right. So you wanted to talk about a particular OVA that you mentioned earlier in the podcast. So yeah, why don't you discuss about it, Eli?
Yes. When I reviewed the Pokemon movies, I reviewed two of them as a double feature. The first one was Mastermind and Mirage Pokemon because both of them are pretty short and since they're basically TV movies. The first one was Masterminds and Mirage Pokemon, which, as I said, I really don't care for. But then after that, there was the quote unquote Raikou special. It's Basically, it was made as an OVA to promote Pokemon Crystal, which I don't know why they didn't use Suicune for that, but at the very least, it actually gives Raikou something to do because it never had a role in any of the anime.
No.
Yeah, well, that's probably why. Suicune was a story arc in the anime. Entei got the third movie. Raikou was left out. So, best place to use him.
The Raikou special basically introduced a couple of characters that were based on the character models in Crystal, called Jimmy and Marina in the English dub. And it's kind of a refreshing new experience because if you don't know the history behind this movie, it was never released as a movie in America. It was released as the first 3 episodes of Pokemon Chronicles, which was basically America's attempt to repackage any of the extra Pokemon material that they couldn't release as a main part of the anime. I thought that meant that Pokemon Chronicles, because this was the first 3 episodes, this was a sign that pretty much all of the episodes after that would be the same level of quality. They weren't. I mean, occasionally you do get side stories that focus on some of the side characters that Ash met in the anime, kind of giving some closure to their stories. And it wasn't perfect. There was this one where people insist that this trainer, that during one of his journey, they suggest that this old man Silver that Richie meets is another possible candidate for Ash's father. But like I said, not confirmed. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, the Raikou special itself is actually quite good as far as OVAs goes. It introduces not only new main characters with some new Pokemon, and Raikou is pretty cool in it, but it also introduces a couple of members of Team Rocket that are actually kind of threatening. It's another duo, much like the other ones, but they kind of ditched the Western theming name here, calling them Attila and Hun in English, which there is a little bit of a complication with this dub, but I'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, basically, it involves these 2 Team Rocket members trying to capture Raikou and harness its power by basically using its role as a guardian against it. They attack other Pokemon, and when Raikou comes in to save it, they use this generator to capture it. And basically, it involves these 3 new trainers trying to help stop Raikou from being taken by a surprisingly competent side group of Team Rocket. And honestly, it's a real breath of fresh air. It's decently animated. The characters are definitely not as stupid as Ash can be sometimes. I mean, yes, you could argue that they made Marina kind of like May and that she wants to be more of a Pokemon coordinator role, but it's not really the same. I do kind of like how they integrated a couple of because it was obviously used as a promotion for Pokemon Crystal. They integrated Eugene, as they call him here. He's voiced by Dan Green in the dub of these episodes, even though he was voiced by a different actor in some of the anime episodes he appeared in. Eugene is badass, Raikou is cool, and even the new Team Rocket members are surprisingly threatening. So, yeah, if the other episodes of Pokemon Chronicles had been like this, I would like it a lot more than I do.
Well, it's not like Pokemon Chronicles was ever meant to be its own separate series. They were just side story episodes that the dub of the anime at the time were just excluding because no one's going to care about anything that doesn't involve Ash.
Yeah, that's actually that actually what really sucks about it, because in the video games, they focus on a different character each and every single generation. You know, you have Red, you have Gold, you have they have the other characters as well, and they always focus on somebody different. And I guess if they, I guess similar to Yu-Gi-Oh, it was the same thing, in which they didn't focus on Yu-Gi throughout the entire franchise. They changed it up every single generation. They had they had Yugi, they had Judai, they had Yusei, they had Yuya, they had the new character from the new
Yusaku.
Yeah, that guy.
Because you can only get so much out of a character before you drain them dry. And that's kind of the problem with Ash right now with all the anime series. They reset him every generation. It's like, the only time they really seem to have regressed him was the XY series, even though all this past continuity still applies to him.
Yeah, I mean, part of me does wish that they had gone the approach of having each different series of the anime focus on a different character modeled after the protagonist of those games. And I kind of see why they didn't do that, because, it would disappoint the kids who grew up with Ash, or at least it might, until it kept going on, and eventually the kids are going to eventually, I'm pretty sure even the kids that grew up with the character got tired of him after a while, especially after. And so, like I said, they do pay lip service to the characters in the games by giving them counterparts in the anime. Of course, they make some of them assholes. I do sort of wish that maybe in an alternate universe somewhere, there's a Pokemon anime that's kind of like the Doctor Who of anime, where you have basically, it's sort of the same idea but with a different protagonist every time.
Yeah, I guess that's why Pokemon Generations happened, in which every single episode of that mini series focused on a different character with each different generation.
Yeah, like I said, I think one of my, in either the list or one of my later videos down the line, that's actually one of the biggest reasons that you should watch Pokemon Generations. And it's just really good.
Oh, it's excellent. Absolutely.
I had additional comments about how American series have gotten so problematic about focusing on this one character over anything else, whereas Japan just has a finite end date for a storyline, and that's why a lot of their stories work a lot better. But honestly, Ash to a lot of people seems like the exception as much as they reset him, even though they keep doing differing reboots of pretty much the same thing. Like, look at Pokemon Origins, which we haven't discussed because it's not technically it's a movie, but over here it was released in separate parts. It's the Gen 1 series all over again, which is just the game version of Ash.
Yeah, well, technically it's Red, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
And so many people seem to prefer him to Ash, and I'm like, I don't really get it, because even though Red is a lot better as a trainer than Ash was, he's also a lot more boring.
The thing with Red in the Pokemon Origins movie, and it's the same problem as the I Choose You movie, is this is traveled ground already.
Yeah, that is true. It's already been done before, but, I mean, at least with Origins, I get what they were trying to do. This was, like, the 20th anniversary of the video games, so they wanted to have... they wanted to kind of like redo the story, except that it's done in video game form. But, and the, Pokemon I Choose You, in which, it's the 20th anniversary of the anime. Let's see if we can retread the old, first episode, and let's change it up a little bit. And I can see what they're trying to do, and at least with Pokemon Origins, it does stick really close to the video games. As for I Choose You, it's somewhat similar to the first episode of the anime, except that there's a lot of changes in there, and questionable changes that I know a lot of people will definitely talk about in the comments. But, I mean, I know what they were trying to do. And, yeah, with Generations, trying to be a lead-up to the Alola games, Sun and Moon, yes, I definitely do think that this was like a better celebration of it, because it's actually really good. It actually is a celebration of all the games and then leading up to the Alola region, as opposed to like, let's focus on Gen 1. Which I know for a lot of people who are Gen 1ers, they absolutely love it. But for people who didn't grow up with Generation 1, they're like, oh, it's just talking about Gen 1 all over again. What about the other ones? And so, that's exactly why we had Generations. And I think Generations, for all the stuff that it was able to do in a short amount of time, I think it was a much better way to celebrate Pokemon. Anyway, so, is there anything else that we can cover right before we conclude our almost 3-hour-long podcast?
I mean, that's what you get when you're talking about 20-plus movies, so...
That's okay. I did this last year with the Rankin Bass Christmas specials, in which I talked about all 20 of the Rankin Bass Christmas specials, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody requested me to talk about all 20 Dragon Ball Z movies, so...
Oh god, I think there's actually more than 20, according to...
I mean, the theatrical movies, not counting the specials like, Trunks, the Trunks special, or, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Plus, Team 4 Star's pretty much done the definitive one on that.
Yes, exactly. Like episode of Bardock and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm sure that I probably have to do that next...
Useless ass psychic powers.
I probably have to do that next year. So, yeah, look forward to next year when I look at all the Dragon Ball Z movies. Anyway, I mean, if you guys have anything else to say, then I think that we can just wrap things up. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on by. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Same here.
So, yeah, why don't you plug and promote your stuff? So, Des Shinta, what do you got coming up?
Well, right after we're done here, I have to release the first 4 of 9 parts of my evisceration of Power Rangers Dino Charge, which I've been leading up to for the last 2 months.
That ending, oh god.
Yeah, that god-awful ending, and that's only the start of it, yeah. You can find me on YouTube at Shinta Reviews, youtube.com/user/Shinta Reviews. I really need to remember my YouTube page, but my blog is at shintasbrainpan.blogspot.com. Yes, it is a silly name. And you can also find me at Twitter at des_Shinta.
All right. And Eli, anything coming up for you?
After we're done with this podcast, I'm actually, like Jim, I'm gonna go see Star Wars. But after that, I will continue editing the Super Santa video I've been working on. And if you want further information on it, you can follow me on Twitter at Cartoon Hero Guy, or on my YouTube page at The Hero of Tomorrow.
All right. And as for me, I'm going to be releasing another episode of Casual Chats discussing about a particular topic that I've been requested on so much over the years, and finally I get to have a chance to tackle it, and hopefully I do get to actually produce some videos. Alright, so that should be it, everybody. Let us know in the comments below about the first Pokemon movie that you were introduced to. Which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Hope to see you around soon, and thank you for listening.